Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy, but you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all.
And welcome in, everybody, to STN for live Flag the Flag coverage of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals, live tonight at the Myrtle Beach Speedway for the running of the Epic Gaming Network 150. I'm Blake McCandless. I'll be joined alongside by Justin Prince in a couple of moments, along with Zach Johnson down in the virtual production trailer. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started with our festivities here tonight as we are on the coast of South Carolina and ready for some heat racing at what has been a very common sight for the FTF Grand National Series so far this season, a very short track. Spencer Preet, Blake Reynolds will start us off in row number 1. Jonathan Oates, Spencer Ray in row number 2. Alex Vasilio and Cosmin Yaneshu in row number 3. Matthew Zwack will start in 8th. Tristan Hagenstein, the points leader in the Super Speedway Series, will roll off from 8th. Ben Horst 9th, Luke Brentschoff in 10th, Benjamin Fanning in 11th, Derek Justice in 12th, and Andy Margot in 13th. Again, top 5 will transfer to the main feature for tonight as we continue to run through qualification. So Pace Truck going to move on to pit road. Spencer Preet, Blake Reynolds in control of the field as we wait all the way to the green flag for this one to get started. A late jump there for our leader in Spencer Preet, but he gets on the binders and we are ready. Reynolds already looking for the crossover off of turn 2, but it looks like for the time being, Spencer Preet will be your leader as we go through and complete lap number 1. Again, only 15 laps set to do battle here for each of these heats. Top 5 will transfer on to the main event, and we already have our first spinner of the night. One car parked here in the middle of turns 1 and 2. It is the NOS Energy Machine of Matthew Zwack, who was turned around and out of sorts here, and we will have our first caution of the evening thrown already tonight. So in this heat race, looks like caution flag laps are not going to count as they have been all season. And you know what? Actually, we have a little bit of a surprise guest that has moved up to the booth, Sean Butler. He just absolutely loves these short track races. I've been a big fan of them all season. So Sean, as excited as I'm sure you are to be on the track, how about getting a nice bird's eye view here before we get things rolling off for you here tonight?
Yeah, I just want to come in here and offer my services before my night goes completely sour when I get on the track, actually. So, and maybe just get a a feel for the car tonight. It's a very interesting setup we've got going on, as you guys have probably touched on. So, going to be a wild race for sure, and the heat races certainly aren't going to provide anything short of pure excitement.
Well, you talk about setup. I wonder what you mean by that. Obviously, these cars can be a handful when you come to a flat racetrack like this. 0.54 miles, relatively flat turns, not a whole lot of banking to speak of. So when you talk about setup, are we talking the car wants to plow into the corners, or it's snappy loose? What's kind of your feel out there after you've turned some laps in practice?
Well, we really get the best of both worlds. I mean, on entry into turn one especially, this car is just very, very slick. So, it just wants to turn the back end. So you get to see the drivers maybe adjusting the brake bias forward a little bit more to the front wheels. That way they keep the rear wheels on it. And it likes to get very tight center and very loose on exits. So going to be very interesting to see just how these cars get around here on the longer run. But from my experience, we did a few runs, me and Jonathan Oates, and the car just got tighter and tighter as the run went on. So definitely going to be a tire saving race, and as well as car saving race for the rest of this thing.
Well, we have seen that all throughout this GNS series as they visited many different short tracks already at this point of the season. It has been a common stomping grounds for the series to visit tracks just like these, and the common theme amongst them is that there has been a lot of attrition in these races, so that is something that will certainly have to clear itself up, and something you have to keep in the back of your mind if you want to be competitive tonight. Big restart zone here for the leaders. Spencer Preet right now in control. You see the pace truck already on pit road. So essentially all of 3 and 4 is in play for the leader to go. You see he waits until about the middle of turn 4 to get us going here. So he gets about a car length advantage into 1 and 2. Green flag is out, and another spinner already. It is Luke Breitschoff there in the back of the field, spinning for position number 10. And that will be our second caution in 3 laps.
And Blake, as I was talking about, the car is very loose going into 1, and that looks like the exact thing that happened to Luke right there. Just the rear end kind of loops around, as you see right there. It doesn't really have a lot of room to save it. And the 96 of Ben Fanning with not a lot of room to go. Good job of minimizing the damage for him. But as I said, these things are going to be a handful on the short run especially. So another one of those instances there with Luke.
I remember I was talking to a NASCAR driver very recently, I won't name who, but he was saying Casey Mears always had the same complaint about his race car. Loose end, tight in the center. And
we got
it seems
the exact thing here, it seems like.
Well, loose in, tight center, loose off. So maybe we got that ideal Casey Mears setup built into these GNS machines. But coming out here, Myrtle Beach Speedway, we're mentioning this is already round number 6 of this very young season here in the FTF Grand National Series. First race this season where we do not have drivers locked in based off of the owner's points from the previous season. So this is kind of where you're really going to have to qualify your way in. If you're relying on those owners points from the previous season, you're not going to have an opportunity to do that any longer. You have to put up or shut up, or as some of the drivers were claiming there, have to cheat in qualifying. I'm sure they're not actually cheating, but if you're behind, that's what you're at least claiming that everybody else is doing.
Well, I mean, qualifying rules were on very strict, or scrutiny, I should say, is on very strict according to the admin. So if they want to cheat, I kind of want to know how they're doing it. But yeah, I mean, the points are going to be very tight. It's been the run of short tracks for us has just been very daunting for very many of these guys, myself included. But you see, the guys right now, believe by what I'm seeing, Andrew Schwartz is your current points leader. Overtook Ethan Corder last week. So interesting to see with Andrew. He's got 5 starts, 5 races counted. He's only got 1 top 5 and 1 top 10, but 1 point lead, 128 points to 127 over Ethan Corder for Andrew Schwartz. So consistent finishing around or close to the top 10 will get you that top spot.
It certainly will. And again, plenty of competitors out here not competing for Grand National points this season. Blake Reynolds is one of them. He's running P2 right now in this heat. And representing Moon Sport, Spencer Preet already on the loud pedal. Green flag is out. You notice that crossover move there from Blake Reynolds. That outside line is not a bad position to restart from, and Sean Butler knows as well as anybody that you cannot switch lanes before that start-finish line, so that's something we're going to have to watch out for, especially if you're on that outside line. They get single file for the first 3, sprint, or Preet rather, Reynolds and Oates, your top three, but right now they are side by side just around that transfer spot. Ian Eshue and Spencer Ray duking it out.
Spencer Ray, and we've seen a lot of Camping World cars and trucks popping up all over iRacing, and he certainly appears to have donned one himself, as Cosman looks like he's got the spot. But here comes Tristan Hagenstein in that 27. He's looking for that 6th or 5th position, I should say, and guy that's no stranger to short tracks right behind them, Derek Justice in that 31 Baskin-Robbins Supra. Look out for him to try to make a move on these guys.
And Justice going to try to find some way around. He started in the 12th position in this heat. He's going to look to make it 3 wide here as they enter turn 1, almost against those. I don't even know what to call those things in turn 1, but whatever you do not want to hit them as they are together. The 85 of Spencer Ray into the tire barrier right in front of pit road. Contact with Tristan Hagenstein sends him around, and the Camping World machine takes a venture, but not out into the wild. It's into the wall, and that is going to cost a lot of damage to the front of that car.
Marcus Lamota's not going to be a fan of that, so we'll go ahead and see what happened here. As you said, there were 3 wide on the entry to turn 1 there. They got really tight, and it looks like Hagenstein right here just gets very tight off the corner, and nowhere for him to go but into the side of Spencer Ray, and a hard hit into the water barrels there for the 85. So that's going to chalk up probably the end of Spencer Ray's race, so he'll have to look to advance through the LCQ. Tough break for all those drivers involved there.
Very tough break there, but while we have you here working under caution flag number 3 of heat number 1, why don't we take a look at the point standings here in the Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. At the moment, Andrew Schwartz, your points leader, been very consistent. However, only 1 point ahead of Ethan Quarter there, who sits in second. Jake Poulin there, he got the win all the way back at the opening race of the season at Daytona. He sits third. Nathan Rabideau in fourth, and Dave Walsh missed a race, but is currently running 5th in points. So not too many full-time competitors here. And even you see a familiar name there down in 8th, Sean Butler, trying to improve that position tonight, I'm sure, sitting 8th in points.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of guys in the point standings. They got the advanced standings up. A lot of guys with 1 top 5 and a couple of top 10s in here. A couple of guys with no top 5s to their credit. So it's all about participating and being closer towards the front than you have to be. At Andrew Schwartz and all these guys, I think I hope I did a good job. I guess from the top 10s, I'm doing something right, I guess. But all these guys just outside the top 10, you got Lucas Plussel, Justin Melillo out there. Jonathan Oates is usually very fast. David Schildhaus is in 15th in the point standings. Jordan Worth was soaring up the point standings, and he's taking a little bit of a hit. So as you know, Blake, with these leagues and especially treacherous tracks like this, the point standings can fluctuate if you're not consistent.
And consistency is going to be key. And even at the top of the standings, it's hard to come by. When you talk about drivers who are scoring points in this series, only 3 right now have even 2 top 10s through our first 5 races. Ethan Quarter, Nathan Rabideau, and Ryan Naraki, the only couple that have at least 2 top 10s in this series that are scoring points. So that's the other thing, knowing who you're racing, competing against drivers that aren't necessarily battling for points. That's definitely going to be something that's very important, and having to keep all of that in mind. So as mentioned, caution flag laps do not count in these heats, so we are just about halfway through heat number 1. 15 laps, top 5 transfer on. Right now that would be Spencer Preet, Blake Reynolds, your top 2, Jonathan Oates, Cosman Ionescu, and at the moment Tristan Hagenstein, who will have his hands full next to Derek Justice as they'll duke it out here on this restart. So Page's truck is off. Spencer Preet can go whenever he so desires. But again, we've seen him wait till about right there, the middle of turn 4, to get it going. He does so once again. He'll have the lead as they head into 1 and 2. Reynolds peeking to the outside for just a moment as he tries to hold them off. Derek Justice wasting no time. He gets into that transfer spot in 5th and already looking for 4th.
Looking for more. Cosme Ionescu forced to that outside lane. We might see the outside as the primary passing lane in this race, as more contact, and Cosmo's just going to let him go, and that might cause a check up here. Justice hits the turtles. More contact between he and Cosmo, and that's going to fall them back to the field even further as Matthew Zwack is going to pass the 84.
That was a bad sequence of events right there for Justice, who had contact with Ionescu there getting into 1. He hits the turtles, and he's going to have to start all the way back where he began this run. One car is sliding through 1 and 2. That's Velasio right there in the middle of 1 and 2. The 221 machine somehow saves it, but that's going to give a spot to a couple of these competitors. So right now it is Preet under attack from Blake Reynolds at the front of the field. 4 laps to go. Jonathan Oates safely there in third. Hagenstein and Ben Horst hanging on to those transfer spots.
And again, you don't need to win the race by any means. All you got to do is finish in the top 5 and you are in the main. So a lot of these guys are very competitive. So you guys like Blake Reynolds up there, Spencer Preet, they want to win the race. Ben Hurst, though, all over the back of Tristan Hagenstein as they head into turn 1 here. That Dunkaroo's car, we like that car in the Cup Series. He's brought it into GNS too. And we have another caution on the racetrack. Looks like another wreck in turn 1. Couple cars involved there, it looks like. And I'm seeing, is that Ben Fanning that's slower to turn 2? It is.
Yeah, that was Benjamin Fanning. He was fishtailing that race car, as you mentioned, getting loose into 1. And I mean, he's slowed up so much. And unfortunately for Andy Margo, there was nowhere to go. Even Fanning came over the radio and apologized for that one just because he was fighting that race car all the way until it spun around.
Yeah, and it might look like Andy just went in there and just cleaned him out. But these things, if you drive it in even just slightly too hard, they're going to be quite a handful going into turn number 1. And I'm guessing Andy was just kind of losing control of the rear end of that 48 Wells Fargo Mustang, and he really couldn't get it wound up. But it looked like the rear of Ben Fanning helped him with that. But it looked like minimal damage on both cars, so they're going to be able to keep going. But as you mentioned earlier, Blake, caution laps do not count, and we're getting down to the end of this thing, and it's getting tighter and tighter as this race progresses.
It is, and we're going to have to decide things here very quickly, as I believe when we get the green flag, there will only be 3 laps to go here at the front of the field. Spencer Preet, Blake Reynolds still your top 2, Jonathan Oates, Tristan Hagenstein. At the moment, it's Ben Horst who has control of that 5th and final transfer spot. But I can tell you what, he's going to have his hands full on this restart. Derek Justice, Matthews, Wack, Cosman, and Eshu, a couple of drivers who got knocked out of the top 5. I'm sure we'll look to get their way back. We also had one driver who was essentially parked for this heat, Luke Breitschoff. You are not allowed to change tires during these heats. He came down pit road, got 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, and because of that, he was parked for the remainder of this heat. So the 033 going to have to work his way through the LCQs to try and race in the main feature for tonight. So we'll believe we'll get the 1 to go signal this time. And actually, call me a liar, lights are still on the iRacing official pace truck. We got a new pace car this week, but we're still utilizing the pace truck this week.
It's all right. I'm sure it's in the budget for Myrtle Beach to upgrade here very soon.
I don't think anything's in the budget for Myrtle Beach.
Who knows? Maybe soon. Hopefully someone will take up the reins of footing the bill to keep this place I want to say constructed, but that's not the right word. Hopefully up and running would be the right term for that. But that pace car is going to come. It's pretty fast pace car, as we saw in the Super Speedway League last night. If you missed that pace car definitely got a workout. So I think they might be giving a little break here for tonight.
That might be, and actually this might be the checkered flag here. There is a time limit set for these heats, and we may have just hit it. We just got the caution flag thrown again by race control, and I think that might do it again. 15 laps, 15 minutes is the set time that we have for these heats. You really think 15 laps at a half-mile racetrack wouldn't be an issue for 15 minutes, but because caution flag laps do not count, unfortunately, it looks like we have hit the time limit here. So I believe Spencer Preet has won this heat. Blake Reynolds in second. Jonathan Oates, Tristan Hagenstein, Ben Horst going to be your 5 who advance, and then Derek Justice, no opportunity. He's going to have to race through the LCQs. He'll get the pole for it, but that is going to be the end of this race. You see the results on your screen, and you know, Sean, that's it's unfortunate to see these races end on time, but you know, when you have a task of 15 laps in 15 minutes, you know, you can't get that, and you don't have much to complain about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the FTF admins are usually spot on with their times, but over the last couple of, I guess, 3 weeks or so, we've had a few races cut it very close, and even a couple, including this one, finish due to time. So that's a big break for the guys in the top 5 there. Tough break for guys like Derek Justice, of course. had to come from the back and falls one spot out of the transfer spot. So as you said, he'll have to come up through the LCQ. But this next race is looking pretty stacked as well, as we'll have the starting grid coming up here in just a second. But this one should be more, if not a lot more competitive than the first one.
It should be there. You saw the grid on your screen right there. And again, this was a lot of drivers who have either done really well up to this point this year. You talk about Andrew Schwartz starting P8. He's your points leader in this series. A couple of drivers who were definitely a part of the action last week. Kenny Brady was definitely a part of things last week. Had a little bit of contact there at the end of the race at the Bull Ring with Michael Cozy Jr. Nate Stewart, he's seen a fair amount of action so far this season. Kevin McAdams even elected not to take a time in qualifying. He's going to be starting shotgun on the field. You'd love to see those quarter panel numbers. I'm sure Landon Huffman is very happy to see that for both he and I believe the 84 also had those quarter panel numbers. That's something you love to see if done right, and it looks right on that paint scheme. But Walsh going to have control of the field. Michael Frisch to his outside. Walsh, again, It's very high in points for having only 4 starts. As Pace Truck is going to pull off, they'll wait until the green flag to get this one started. Again, same as heat number 1, 15 laps, 15 minutes, whichever comes first. And we'll wait for the green flag. Walsh, a great launch right there, and already side by side throughout the field for second. Michael Frisch, Connor Horn already duking it out. They're 2 by 2, about 5 rows deep as they hit the backstretch.
Oh, we got some contact back there. Andrew Schwartz was put in the wall. It looks like who's that put him in the wall? Looks like Nate Stewart put him in the wall back there. So Schwartz goes from mid-pack to all the way back to second to last. Now last on the grid here. So he's got his work cut out for him. But still side by side. Looks like the first battle on track is going to be between the 98 of Evan Rice. Lucas Plussel just ahead. But he's got a bunch of guys, including Nate Stewart behind him, and got Lucas Plussel stuck on the top side. So he's going to have to get back to the inside soon and make up ground, or he's going to be where Schwartz is if he's not careful.
Very tough to try and get back down to the bottom as you see that battle for 7th. Stewart's able to get the best of that. He hits those turtles, though. Gets a little bit of contact there from Kenny Brady. They're able to save it. Big send to the corner there by Kevin McAdams. Again, this is great racing, but this is all outside that transfer spot. So the longer they battle each other, the harder it's going to be for these drivers to try and make it up through this field. Right now, they sorted out single file, and McAdams gets turned off at turn 2. A little bit of contact there as he gets collected in it. We'll have to see how much help he had, but I believe there was a little bit of contact there from Gary Waterworth. He does a 360 here, and that is our first caution. We make it to lap number 4 here in heat number 2 before we're slowed by the yellow flag.
It looks like these turtles rearing their ugly head again. The 12 of Gary Waterworth right there. He clips it a little bit, launches the left front of that car into the air, right into Kevin. Minimal damage to both of these cars, so that's fortunate for them. They're able to keep it going, but still, you want to avoid those things at all costs. And if you're doubting that, there's proof right there. Waterworth and McAdams able to keep it going, but luckily they didn't get any worse damage than they could have gotten.
Yeah, just a healthy spin, if you can call it that, at the back of the field for Kevin McAdams. As we welcome in the third member of our broadcast crew tonight, Justin Prince, busy man as he is, has finally made it up here into the booth here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. So, Justin, welcome in. You've missed an interesting heat number 1. We ended on time rather than on the lap limit, but I think we're set for some good racing, and I know, especially you being here last week, you got to see all that happened in the Bull Ring. I don't imagine that changing coasts is going to result in a much different race here tonight.
It's still a very difficult track, though. You have to keep in mind it's not the similar, or rather not the same flow, I should rather say, compared to the Bull Ring, because the shape is a bit different here. You also have those big turtles that are set up for the pit exit in turns 1 and 2. And it's also a track that has a lot of high tire wear because it's a very rough surface here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Keep in mind, this is also a historic racetrack with Myrtle Beach Speedway essentially shutting down operations in the past year or so. So this is an opportunity for drivers to run what is now a blast from the past as of this year with the facility's operations moving around.
Very interesting indeed as we get the 1-to-go signal from the flag stand. We're going to be 2 wide once again. Top 5 transfer in Walsh, Horn, Frisch, Cowden, and Mike McConville right now sitting in the top 5. We saw Evan Rice making some headway, and Nate Stewart has moved forward a couple of positions. Started back in 9th, moved up to 7th before we got that first caution flag. Right now, Walsh in control of the field, can go whenever he so desires, and I imagine just like we saw Spencer Preet do there in heat number 1. He'll wait all the way to the middle of turn 4 before he gets us going. Green flag in the air. A nice jump there, though, from Connor Horn. He's right on the back bumper. They're side by side for both 3rd and 5th behind them. Dalton Cowden into the wall, though. That'll stack them up as they work into 3 and 4.
Man, look at the 97 of Kenny Brady. Took it 3 wide, and we got a 1 around. That's Lucas Plussel all by himself at the rear. No caution. He's able to keep it straight, but Kenny Brady jumped it 3 wide, and they're still wrecking. 3 cars going around, including the 97. Andrew Schwartz has to stop. Nathan Stewart was going around, but that was quite an eventful restart, Blake, and the 97 of Kenny Brady, unfortunately, is going to be the one that comes out with the short end of the stick there, but man, that was one of the more aggressive moves we've seen so far tonight.
You know, I gotta say, I know this is a replay there, but if we could roll that back, this started all the way back in 3 and 4 with Kenny Brady and Nate Stewart. This is typical short track racing at its finest. You're gonna see here into 3, you're gonna see 13 get into the back of the 97. 97 shoots up the racetrack, and you know, I think we're gonna see the returning of the favor here by Kenny Brady. Yeah, you see right there. Yep. That is that's a little bit of good old short track racing right there. Brady, I'm sure, didn't appreciate the contact, and he returned the favor there to Nate Stewart.
Yeah, massive send there from Brady as a result there to the back bumper. Significant damage, though, caused to him and to several others there. And the thought process has to be here, I think that bump originally came from that squeeze to make it 3 wide initially there possibly, is at what cost was the send back there from Brady on Stewart, because now Stewart's got significant front and back end damage, as well as several other cars that were running along. In fact, Andrew Schwartz lost the front clip from that hit to the Turtles along to Brady's side.
That gets them out of control. Brady ends up getting the worst of it as he gets spun around. And again, Brady, an interesting figure last week at the Bull Ring. A lot happened. I wasn't able to catch all of that race, but from what little I saw, there was a lot of controversy around the driver of the 97 with a couple of incidents that happened in that race. And, you know, this is kind of something that I think, Sean, this builds up over many weeks. When you run all these short tracks, I mean, we've been to Lane, or I think Lane. We've been to 5 Flags. We've been to, New Smyrna, 5 Flags, and the Bull Ring. Now we're at Myrtle Beach. So we're at our 4th short track of the season. I think these guys have seen enough of each other, and you throw enough drivers on a short track, and when you have as many wrecks as we've had these last couple of weeks, I think eventually guys are just going to get fed up with each other. You're going to see a lot more of moves like that, I think, unfold over the next couple of weeks.
I don't know about these guys, but I got my little notepad going with names I got to remember from those races. So going to see if that's a little bit more retaliatory, but nonetheless, it's early in the season. We got plenty of racing to go. But green flag coming back out here, coming to lap number 7, just about halfway through. And it looks like Dave is going to wait on him again here as we're green once again.
Walsh going to try to switch it up on him, but Connor Horn was ready for it. And a big send. I believe Evan Rice gets in the back of Dalton Cowden, and he's not going to be able to save it. He's sitting parked in the middle of 1 and 2, never fully spun around, will stay green. So Cowden is able to save it. I believe that was Evan Rice that got into him, but nevertheless, side by side for the lead. Walsh and Connor Horn bang doors as they get into 1 and 2. Just halfway through heat number 2, Justin.
What a crazy heat. Let's put it that way. As keep in mind, you can squeeze a little bit from that higher line. I think that's what Horn's trying to do. It's difficult to do properly, though, since the bottom line is the preferred groove. Keep in mind that they also have Michael Frisch here as well, coming off that win in the Super Speedway Series, looking to carry some momentum from that side.
And Frisch going to try to keep Connor Horn there on the high side. We see Horn's able to get a pretty good exit using that high line. Can he get clear of Frisch? He's going to be able to do so. Finally gets back down to the bottom. Now he can set his sights on our race leader in David Walsh. But back there for the transfer spot, it's getting hairy. Nate Stewart shoves Evan Rice into the wall. Rice and Stewart make contact. Stewart has the position into 3.
Oh, we were talking about making friends on the track, and if there's one guy I think I can maybe speak for the league, a guy that's not really made that many friends so far, it is Nate Stewart. He's been at the forefront of some contact early, and Evan Rice is giving it back to him on the top line. But as Justin mentioned, you want to stay really close to the guy below you in the battles, and Evan Rice just gets back on the gas a little too hard there. He's going to lose the spot, but he's trying to fight back on the outside. But Nate Stewart far too strong at the bottom there. He clears him, and Rice is going to have to deal with Kenny Brady now.
And remember, these two have a history already from tonight. We'll see what happens here. Stewart into the Turtles. Here comes Rice on the outside. Great battle here for the transfer. Brady into Stewart once again. He saves it. Rice is on the high side. Now Waterworth looking bottom 3, nearly 4 wide. Here comes Evan Rice. He has control of it as they look 3 into 1.
There's still 3 laps to go, mind you here. They are still bumping and banging here. What a crazy sequence, to say the very least. And to say the very least, the rival bars, if you know that phrase, are likely up to 100 right now. Everybody is mad at each other right now.
Oh, they are, and Rice is going to be able to escape. Stewart got loose there off at 2. Oh, they're 3 wide and wrecking behind them. Kevin McAdams into the Turtles. Everybody scatters around. They save it, but enough separation has allowed these drivers and Evan Rice to get away. White flag in the air this time. Does Stewart have one more shot at the 98?
Kevin McAdams says, "This isn't my car this week. I'm driving for Ryan Araki. I'm going to throw it in there." But nonetheless, they all save it. Evan Rice has the spot. Will he be able to hold on to it? It looks like he will. And it looks like Dave Walsh is coming off of 4 to win the race. Second going to go to Connor Horn, Michael Frisch third, McConville fourth, and Evan Rice going to hang on for 5th. But Blake, that was some of the craziest short track racing I think I've ever seen on the service ever.
That was great stuff right there. Nate Stewart and Evan Rice, Gary Waterworth, that was some incredible stuff. Kenny Brady, I tell you what, man, these guys, they're not going to be inviting each other to the other's wedding, or at least putting them on their Christmas card list or something. That was some incredible stuff right there. But at the end, it's Walsh, Horn, Frisch, McConville, and Evan Rice who advance to the feature. Of course, the rest of the drivers, they're not down and out just yet. They'll have an opportunity to race in through the LCQs in just a little bit. But Sean, it's been great having you up in the booth. We'll go ahead and let you go and get ready to roll off P2 in this heat. Good luck out there, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. You guys have fun up here.
All right, so Sean Butler, he'll start to the outside of Ryan Doucette, who will lead us to the green flag in heat number 3. Adam Sweet will off the inside of row number 2 with Jack Painter to his outside. Roger Gregory will start 5th. Ethan Corder right now 2nd in the points to Andrew Schwartz. He'll start in 6th. Jake Poulin rolls off 7th. 8th starting spot goes to Rich Jameson. Justin Malillo will start 9th. Jeremy Clapper 10th. Brian Kita in 11th. And Dylan Drayling there in 12th. But man, Justin, I still can't get over that battle we saw for the transfer spot. That was some incredible action right there.
Absolutely, and it was just amazing to see all the tempers flaring and then some. I haven't seen something like that wasn't in a demolition derby in a while, but they did a great job of keeping themselves going without significantly hampering their damage. I'm curious if the tempers continue, though, in this race. I'm kind of expecting some tempers to flare up. Let's put that way, and let's expect to be some exciting action here, especially with the drivers up towards the front, showing some great speed so far.
They certainly have. Ryan Doucette, Sean Butler, sure they'll be showing us a lot of speed here in this one, but we'll keep our eye on that transfer spot. Only 2 cautions in that last heat. 15 laps. Ryan Doucette going to get us started here. A great restart there on the outside by Sean Butler as Jack Painter nearly looked 3 wide there for a moment. He's going to try to get a big run there off the high side, but they are side by side for both 1st, 3rd, and even that battle for the 5th back there, that transfer spot. Roger Gregory, Ethan Corder, they're side by side for the first 3 spots as they head off the corner.
And here's the big thing when it comes to Quarter. He ended up missing the race last week since it was the last week with the provisionals from 2020 points as the points leader. So this is going to be big for him to try and get back into a transfer spot to make sure he doesn't have to rely on the Consi once more. He's doing a great job on that top line. He's got a very quick car, to say the very least. They're side by side for the lead.
And how about this? Sean Butler flexing his muscles there on the high side, not giving Ryan Doucette a ton of room to work down there on the bottom. Butler to the high side. He may have the run here off of turn 4, and he's going to have him at the stripe. Already led a couple of laps, but Butler showing that there may be some juice in that high line, but then Doucette there through 1 and 2 right along those turtles. And I think that just goes to show you how quick that bottom line can work. They're still going at it here off of turn 4 as they come around to take lap number 5.
I think the rubber's starting to really build up on that top group. I think that's partly why it's coming in so much now in this respective heat. But again, that preferred line just allows you to be able to send it a little bit more deeper, especially in 1 and 2. It may come down to a drag race of the way this is going unless somebody can clear somebody here in this circumstance. Neither of these drivers have made any mistakes.
No, they haven't. They are still side by side, door to door here through lap number 6. Doucette tried to get the gas, try to get the spot. Butler still hanging on his right rear quarter, but now Butler going to think better of it. He's going to try to get in line. Doucette into the pit road wall. So here we go. Flip-flop the positions. Now Butler gets to try the bottom. Ryan Doucette gets to try to play defense on the top side.
It's going to be intense, I think, at this point here. I think Butler's got a little bit more acceleration now as a result of that. Doucette getting really squished up there that time. Keep in mind that the transfer spot is calmed down with Jack Painter in that position. You see him in the backdrop as they're still seeing Adam Sweet trying to figure out, okay, do I try and run the high line? Do I try and arc it down? What line do I try and go to in case these cars get single file as they get squirrely?
My goodness, both Butler and Doucette duking it out here. I believe Doucette may have it here off the corner. Close quarters racing, and Ryan Doucette, a fantastic job right there to both work around the bottom there on Butler, and he made the top side work. So Doucette will go to the race lead. Butler to second. It has been Adam Sweet lurking there in the third position, nose to toe with Ethan Corder for fourth. And at the moment, Jack Painter there as we come across already lap number 10 going on the board. 6 to go. Jack Painter right now holds control of that fifth and final transfer spot.
Some great racing, to say the very least, in this one, but I think there's the opportunity for Butler to try and get up there again. But I'm keeping my eye on Corder because he's been really quick on the apex. He's been really good on the exits as well. It's just a matter of trying to actually make the move. Here he goes.
Trying to make it work there for third. Mind you, these drivers are already in, but Sweet going to be able to hold him off on the top. So Adam Sweet holding steady there to that final step on the podium here in heat number 3. 4 laps to go here. They're settled out up front, it appears, but Ethan Corder still trying to catch that 055 machine.
Yeah, he looks hungry for some valuable track position, to say the very least, for the main racing action, because I think track position is going to be very critical for how these short track races have played out so far this season. But he's doing a phenomenal job here on just maintaining and trying to pull away. Look behind, though. Painter has been reeled in by Jake Poulin in the closing stages, so the transfer is about to heat up.
It's up for grabs now. They're within a car length as we're taking the 2 to go signal. Jack Painter got into the outside wall there off of turn 2 that last time by. So the Hellman's machine made up a little bit of ground. Here comes Jake Poulin. A slight run off the corner. Painter in the wall once again. That's all Poulin needs. Just another mistake here. He pulls right up to the inside. White flag in the air. He'll get one last trip at it.
Can he get to him is the big question. Can he get to that inside to try and make a run? I don't know. Poulin seems to have really burned off that right rear.
It really seems as though he has. Checkered flag in the air for Ryan Doucette. Sean Butler going to be able to hold on, but off the corner you see Poulin drifting, but he's not going to be able to get it done. Again, Ryan Doucette, your winner. Sean Butler in second. Adam Sweet, Ethan Corder, and Jack Painter, your top 5, are going to finish there, and they will be the 5 that move on 2, the main feature tonight. One more heat to get you ready for. Heat number 4, the last one to speak of. Another 15-lapper or 15 minutes. We've seen in heat number 1, we got stopped by that time limit, but of course our last couple of heats have rolled pretty smooth. Heat number 2, 2 cautions to speak of, and then caution free through heat number 3. We'll look to do the same here in heat number 4. A couple of familiar names at the front of the field. Michael Cozy Jr. will lead us to the green flag. Christian Peterson second. Jordan Worth, he'll roll off on the inside of row number 2. Nathan Rabideau fourth in points. We'll start to his outside. Brett Pankari in 5th. Casey Nimitz in 6th. John Bull will roll off 7th. Matt Wishart, he'll start in the 8th position, and pretty impressive that he can manage his duties with Martin's Motorsports and make it out for the race tonight. He'll roll off in the 8th position. Tyler O'Neill will start in 9th. Mark Sabetka in 10th. Alec Karen in 11th, and Tyler Lannon in 12th. So as much as we were talking about, we thought these were going to be attrition-filled races. We have a caution-free heat in heat number 3 there, Justin.
Yeah, some entertaining racing, and now you have teammates leading them to the front row with 2 great short track racers. Cozy Jr. has been really good this season on the short tracks. Christian Peterson, known for specialty on that. Of note, Mark Sabetka couldn't get going off the grid. Unfortunate for him, made it into tonight's heat racing action. Just couldn't get the car started, it almost looked like. Unfortunate for him.
It really is. That is a beautiful paint scheme that he has on that machine. So unfortunate there for Sabetka to not be able to get it to go green. He missed the grid. He's revving it up in pit road, so he'll be allowed to go at the launch. May need a caution flag to get back in contention, though. Up front, 2 Logitech Altus cars in both Michael Cozy Jr. and Christian Peterson will get a start. A green flag in the air. They are already 3 wide back there for 4th, as here comes to the inside the 035 of Brett Pankari. They're still 2 wide behind him. Casey Nimitz able to get control of that, so the 035 will hold control of 5th. Side by side behind him for 6th between Tyler O'Neill and Nathan Rabideau.
Tempers really flared up there as drivers really wanted to get to the bottom of the racetrack now, but at this point I think they need to try and stay in a grouping and try and figure out, okay, can we close up to Pankari? Since he is now with that transfer spot and is pulling away, these cars are fighting way too hard for their own good right now to get up to 5th position.
I was about to say they're doing nothing but slowing each other down, but of course you want to be the one driver that emerges in 6th with that chance. But side by side they still go. Tyler O'Neill on the top, Nathan Rabideau on the bottom, trying to make it work. O'Neill up the racetrack is going to have it, nearly slides into the outside wall, but they are still dead even, losing precious time up there to Brett Pankari.
Yeah, they've already lost themselves nearly a full second trying to scrap with one another. And this has to be very frustrating as a driver, knowing if you settle down, we might have the pace. But I think at this point, Rabideau feels like he's quicker than O'Neill. Has already given the bumper a couple times. They've already pushed and shoved trying to get to the bottom, and it's stacking them all up. This is going to be really irritating for all the drivers looking to try and get by O'Neill.
Well, O'Neill gets the better of it. Now Rabideau looking back to the inside here through 3 and 4. As it looked like O'Neill may have had an excursion there on the outside wall there on the back straightaway. O'Neill just looks really loose. Rabideau just going to send it in there. He doors O'Neill. I'm sure that's not going to endear him well to the 031. Will we see something here through 3 and 4? No, they're going to let Rabideau go on by, so that puts him up into 6th, but again, has lost about 8 to 10 car lengths on that battle in front of them.
Yeah, O'Neill's car definitely demolished on the back end at this point. Just seems to be struggling to get a full grip on the corner exit so far in this run compared to the drivers behind him at this point. But keep in mind that transfer position is still about 5-6 car lengths ahead of this entire group. And they're starting to scrap a little bit as well. Nemitz under attack right now from Pankari as Pankari's trying to get a buffer.
Again, these are drivers that are just trying to improve their starting position for what could be their main feature event, so they obviously want to get everything they can, and perhaps they feel like they've built up enough of a gap now with 7 laps to go to have something. So Pankari here at 035 going to look to the outside of the 52. Haven't seen this all too often, but here he is down the back straightaway, drag racing to 3 and 4. Nimitz trying to hold him off, but here comes this Princess Daisy machine looking to do it on the high side.
Coming through. and looking to carry a ton of speed while doing so. Almost too much speed right now. Just trying to utilize that top line. Nemitz just seems to be struggling a little bit. This may open up the door in the closing stages for Rabideau to do something here.
It really does. You can see the ground. Rabideau was about 0.7 of a second behind this battle. Now just about 0.3 of a second with 5 laps to go. The 93 is on the march, and he is all over the back of Casey Nemitz. So setting ourselves up here for another great battle for that final and 5th transfer spot here through 3 and 4. Rabideau all over the back bumper of Casey Nemitz.
Oh, and the caution flag is out. Tyler O'Neill finally goes around. And I think he got some help.
It looks like he did, as they were battling there for, I believe it was the 7th position. John Poole had gone under him. O'Neill was struggling with the loose race car, and obviously that doesn't get any easier when you get a little bit of a tap from behind. So Tyler O'Neill gets around there. I believe that's contact with Matt Wishart, who was running back there in the 9th position. So O'Neill gets spun around, but this is going to create a really interesting scenario when we get the green flag with 3 laps to go. Everybody going to be right on top of each other, and including Rabideau, who I'm sure wanted that to go green to the end. I think he wanted that to continue on. I feel like if you're Nathan Rabideau there, you feel like you definitely had the faster car over the 52 right there. So you just wanted that thing to settle out. But now on this restart, anything can happen.
Exactly. It could get to where you might see drivers miss their braking points. It might get to where there's a better rotation on the bottom side on the restart. It all depends on how these cars enter the corner, and on top of that, how they even start this restart. Because if there's any sort of checkup, that can really hurt Rabideau and his chances to move on. But I think if it stays clean, he might have a chance to try and pinch down and get by the 52, as that's going to be likely his only shot. Meanwhile, keep in mind the teammates, they've been dominant so far. We haven't talked too much about the Logic Gialta Sports machines. Cozy Jr. and Christian Peterson, they've just been cool as cucumbers up at the front.
They have been. It's been quite easy when you don't really have any pressure on you. Of course, the teammates not going to race each other too hard. They're just trying to get into the main event. We saw that a bit in that last heat as well. Doucette and Butler, they had a pretty vicious battle for the lead, but they settled it amongst themselves and then just thought better of it to make sure they got to the end of the race without incurring any issues. We saw really the top 2 pull away. Jordan Worth was also a part of that. Was just kind of minding his P's and Q's, just trying to get to the end of the heat, make sure they are one of the 5 that transfer on here. But the battle is going to be on from 5th on back. Casey Nemitz going to try to hold on to that spot. The 93 of Nathan Rabideau going to try to make up some ground, as I believe we are on the, 2 to go right now. Lights are still on. And again, caution flags don't count, so we're not necessarily in green-white checker territory, but if we get a caution, we'll obviously have another couple of restarts, and we still have about 7 minutes to settle this thing out. So plenty of time here if we do get a spin or two to try and get this thing going and get it finished under green.
I'm keeping my eye on John Poole in this restart as a result of this, because he looked fairly sporty when they were in that battle going on with Tyler O'Neill. He's got a significant dent to the back bumper, yes, but he's somebody that, if anything happens up on the top line, he's the next driver who gets to attack as a result here on the bottom line and potentially use a bit of the bumper. So this is going to be intense, I think, here for this transfer spot here with how tightly knit a couple of these drivers were.
3 laps to go. Cozy and Christian Peterson, your top 2. Jordan Worth and Brent Pancari hanging on, but now a great restart there from the bottom line. Here comes Casey Nemitz here looking for 4th. Nathan Rabideau looking to try and crack the top 5. 3 to go off of turn 2.
And that was not the restart Rabideau needed. He could not get to the high line. He had to send it hard initially just to get where he is now. The problem is, I don't think he's in the proper position to be able to get the drag race side by side. It doesn't help that Pancari is stuck on the top line in front of him.
No, it doesn't. 2 laps to go now. Worth able to clear for third. They're side by side for fourth. Rabideau going to try to get to the bottom, but John Poole is there. They make contact behind them. That might be the separation that Pancari and Nimitz needed, but we are going to be in green-white checker territory. Caution in the back of the field, and once again, it is Tyler O'Neill who gets a little bit of help. O'Neill spins around, and that just before we grab the white flag is going to put us in green-white checkered territory.
Just the checkup effect, I think, as drivers were fighting hard to get to the bottom of the racetrack, with especially what happened in front. O'Neill checks up for Witchard, top of that battle on the bottom, and Alec Karen makes contact, significant damage for the 181 machine as a result to the back end in particular, as he got hit hard from the back end. A rough circumstance there once again, but it's a circumstance where it's understandable seeing what happened just prior with Rabideau and John Poole there that checked up the entire bottom line in the first place like that.
It's so tough right there. I don't think the driver in front of O'Neill could really see that checkup right there. You see it once again.
On the bright side, Mark Zabeka gets to be back in the lead lap here after his issues. He was 2 laps down, Blake.
He does. He's got a really long shot here, still running in 12th, so a lot would need to happen for him to even have a prayer at trying to get that 5th spot right there. So good for him to stay with it, but again, he's going to need nothing short of a miracle here to have a chance to try and get back in this thing. But up front, I think it's mostly going to be pretty calm. Michael Cozy Jr., Christian Peterson, more than likely going to take care of themselves. I believe the Davies Doobies machine of Jordan Worth sit up there in third. Don't imagine too many issues there. Brett Pancari was able to make his way forward to fourth. He was able to hang on to that spot. And Casey Nimitz still holding strong there in the 5th position. So all top 5 drivers, aside from Nathan Rabideau, he qualified in 4th. Right now he's running in 6th, pretty much staying there. And that has been a key, especially when you think about how short of a heat that this is. 15 laps, now 16 will be the official distance now that we're in green-white checkered territory. Track position seemed to matter a lot, not only for speed, but just to stay out of some of the wrecks that we've seen.
Indeed, and I think the top line's going to be pretty pivotal once again for this restart here, because if it ends up being in our checkup, I think it's Nemitz's position to lose for the final transfer spot. If there's a good launch from the high line, I think Rabideau is in a good spot to try and get it. They're already making a bit of contact, though, trying to line up here for the restart.
Already getting dicey here on the back straightaway. Trying to get ready for this restart. Green-white checker territory here. Cozy and Peterson, your top 2, side by side throughout the field. Cozy with a great launch. The top 2 get away. It looks like Peterson's going to be able to clear for second. Here comes Nathan Rabideau. He locks him up as he got a little bit of help there from Casey Nimitz. We'll have to see there if there's a restart violation as well for perhaps a lane change. But nevertheless, through 3 and 4, all we have to do is get to the white flag, and Rabideau is around in 3 and 4.
When the caution flag is out, a hard hit for Wishart as a result, and Sabetka ends up getting collected in it as well, trying to check up. Rough situation there. Wow.
You really feel for Nathan Rabideau there, who had driven up a couple of positions to try and put himself in a spot to transfer, and a little bit of contact there, a little bit of he said, she said, I'm sure, between he and Casey Nimitz right there as they got into turns 3 and 4. And I think that's just a classic case here at the end. You're not going to lift. Everybody's going for it. Rabideau certainly gets down to the bottom. Nimitz certainly thought he was there. That's one of those that I'm not going to put that on the 52 or the 93. If you're the 93, you're not expecting that big of a sin, and if you're the 52, you're on the bottom, and the 93 definitely came down a little bit. So that's just 2 drivers going for the same piece of real estate at the same time.
Yeah, short track racing at its finest. Just 2 drivers battling for position in a spot on the racetrack, and for Nimitz, he had to try and get to the bottom, because if Rabideau cleared on by, it's likely Rabideau's position to hold on for the transfer spot. So it was the one shot for Nimitz to try and get to the inside there. As a result, We'll see how things shake out, but Nemitz is in 5th now once again as a result. This puts John Poole potentially in a position as well to fight for that transfer spot on the high line with how he's been racing this one.
John Poole going to have an opportunity. Again, when we talked about time limits, we saw it come into play in heat number 1. It may be in effect here for heat number 2. So if we're able to get the green flag here in this heat, you see the timer on the top left-hand portion of your screen right now, just about clicking off 1.5 minutes as the pace car rolls here past the start-finish line. If the lights go out, and it does, that's really going to give us an opportunity that this is it. We're not going to have another green-white checkered, although technically we would have a third opportunity for one if we so desired. This is going to be it. So either we're going to end this under caution or we're going to end this in the next 2 laps. Michael Cozy, Christian Peterson, your top 2. The order is all shuffled up behind them. Casey Nimitz and John Poole right now side by side in row number 3. They're going to duke it out with Matt Wishart, and even Tyler O'Neill. Alec Karen still has a chance at transferring. Green flag is out. Top 3 get them sorted out. Jordan Worth in 3rd. Brent Picari's trying to challenge on the outside there for 4th, but the battle is on for the transfer. Casey Nimitz and John Poole side by side.
Narrow pole launch for the 52 off the launch. Do we take the white flag is the big question.
That's going to be the question, and it looks like we're going to get there in time. White flag in the air. One more trip around here, our final heat of the night. Side by side for 3rd, side by side for the transfer spot. Nimitz trying to hang on. John Poole, big send on the outside. Final time through 3 and 4. Who's going to get here first? To the line. Almost contact made. Poole is making contact with Nimitz, but the 52 Chevrolet is going to hang on by just enough to transfer in nearly 0.5 of a second as Nimitz hangs on there to the 5th spot. Michael Cozy gets the win, and that is going to be enough. Michael Cozy, Christian Peterson, Jordan Worth, Brent Pancari, and Casey Nimitz, just enough to hang on and get into the main feature. So as we wrap up our heats, we move forward into the LCQs. And lineup's going to look like this. Derek Justice, Nate Stewart, some of the first drivers on the outside looking in of their heats will roll off from row number 1. Jake Poole and John Poole will start in row number 2. 5th starting spot goes to Matthew Zwack. 6th is Kevin McAdams. 7th is Roger Gregory. 8th, Tyler O'Neill. 9th is Cosme Ionescu. And Lucas Plosa will round out the top 10.
11th spot goes to Rich Jameson with Tyler Lehman in 12th position. Alex Vecchiello in 13th. Kenny Brady, 14th positions where he was slotted to be. Jeremy Clapper, 15th. Rabideau, 16th. Margo and Schwartz, 17th and 18th. Justin Malou, Mark Sabetka, your top 20.
21st will go to Spencer Ray. 22nd, Gary Waterworth. Starting 23rd will be Brian Keita. 24th, Alec Karen. 25th is Benjamin Fanning. 26th to Robert Dorman. 27th, Dylan Drayling. 28th is Matt Wishart. 29th, Luke Breitschoff. And 30th is Dalton Cowden. So we'll have to see how many are going to transfer on. I know with owners' points and whatnot, it's always kind of a changing number as far as how many are going to make it into the main feature. We know we transferred in 20 cars from our 4 heats, 5 apiece that made it in. And so we'll see after this how many end up making it forward to the feature. We'll get the official word from the tower in just a couple of moments, how many we're going to allow in, and then of course owners points can change all of that up. Top 10 will transfer in, and again that's pending provisional. So Derek Justice, Nate Stewart, your top 2. Pace truck off pit road, 30 laps, or excuse me, 25 set to go here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, and what a launch for Derek Justice. 2 to 3 car lengths already clear off the corner as Nate Stewart under assault from John Poole. They're side by side behind those two between McAdams and Jake Pullen.
What a launch from Justice, to say the very least. Another great launch for him, but keep an eye on the incident that's happening in the middle of the corner. Several drivers are crashing into the corner.
Oh, the big one here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Rich Jameson, Roger Gregory stuck into the inside fence, and the rest of the field piles in. Huge hit there for the 7-Eleven machine of Brian Keita as he hit the crossover gate, Michael Waltrip style there in the middle of 1 and 2. And already a handful of cars getting handed some pretty significant damage here in 1 and 2. Lap number 1, and we got a lot of junked race cars here.
Let's take a look. There's already a bit of contact entering turn 3 wide, entering the corner. Then Jameson looks like he's going to be all right until he gets too quick in the gas. That gets him loose. He goes all over the track trying to save it. But the problem is, 1, there's that inside retaining wall. Well, 2, there's another car there. Bounces off that car on the inside wall, and that causes a track blocker.
Causes a track blocker indeed. Not a whole lot of room to go. Again, you see the 7-Eleven violently thrown across the racetrack. We get another look at it here through 3 and 4. Again, things happen so fast here. 30 cars on the track. By far the most we've seen of the night. They were 2, they were 3 wide on these restarts, and that all started getting loose there off of turn 4. We heard Sean Butler talk about it. These cars loose in and loose off. You can definitely see the drivers are fighting those conditions out on the racetrack.
Yeah, keep in mind the track is very hot and slick as well, and that I think is also factoring in. But man, some hard hits early on. That is not what some of the drivers needed or wanted, to say the very least here. As Justice waiting for the one to go signal at this point. Good launch for him. Good launch for Nate Stewart as well.
Yeah, that was an incredible launch that Derek Justice had there on that restart. And again, it's the one thing here at this racetrack, we don't see it on the initial start of the race, but on these restarts, the pace truck pulls off so early that if you are that race leader, you have a lot of freedom, a lot of leadway, and Derek Justice, with the experience he has on the sim, wouldn't be surprised for him to kind of do what I like to do as a race leader. I like to shake it up. Sometimes I like to go early. Sometimes I like to go late. You never want to be too predictable, and especially here at Myrtle Beach, you have so much time. But if you go too early through 3 and 4, you really get that advantage to the guy on the high side because you have to stay low. You cannot change lanes before the restart. So I don't think you're going to see too many drivers go before at least the very middle of 3 and 4. It's about the earliest you can make it happen. We'll see where Derek Justice elects to go this time as we work lap number 3, right in the middle of turn 4, where we've seen most of our leaders go for a majority of the night. He gets away by 2 or 3 car lengths and already sets up a side-by-side battle behind him. Nate Stewart, a little contact with Kevin McAdams, but he right now is trying to fend off the 56 of John Poole. One car flipped in the middle of turns 2. A violent crash. That is Alex Vasilio who is there as his car was barrel rolling in the middle of 1 and 2.
Massive crash that lasted a whole straightaway, in fact. I believe the 68 was the first driver who went around there, getting loose on his own, I think, trying to set it underneath Andrew Schwartz, and that just caused a massive checkup effect, I think, in just another track blocker situation.
Again, we have seen these drivers fighting these race cars. It was Tyler Lane, and he was pretty loose. I remember seeing in his heat, and it looks like he got a little loose in, was chasing it the entire corner, overcorrected into the wall, and again, the rest of the field, nowhere to go. Tyler Landon with significant damage. We see the Anaheim Ducks machine, Jeremy Clapper. He gets the front nose of his car, or beak, I guess I'll say, Anaheim Ducks car. It gets taken off of the front of his car, and they even have a bit of a wreck afterwards. A couple of cars wrecked into pit road after this initial incident. We saw Mark Sabetko, we saw Justin Malillo get turned well after the caution. A couple of cars had to go down pit road to either miss it or got involved in it. So kind of 2 wrecks happening there. You see the second one right there on your screen.
Yeah, and I think that's just 3 wide, trying to avoid everything, and everyone just squishing all together and making door-to-door contact there. Again, that's all just the circumstances of everyone having to dodge the wreck there in that part of the race, to say the very least. But we still have 3 total laps going to be complete on the board this time by, and what's been a crazy one so far for this Consi.
Not many laps being put up on the board. We talked about time limits and ended up coming into play definitely in Heat 1. Almost was a factor in Heat number 4. We do have a time limit for this heat. It is 20 minutes or 25 laps, whichever comes first. And at this pace, I'd be surprised if we're not going to see that time limit come into factor. We'll definitely have to get at least about a 10 or 15 lap green flag run here very shortly if we're going to have this thing in under green. Otherwise, I think the timing limit is definitely going to come into play here. Only going to make that battle for 10th more intense throughout this entire race. So we will continue to move forward here. We'll see if we get the one to go signal from the flag stand this time by here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Barney does give us the one to go signal. So Derek Justice, Nate Stewart, who had a little bit of contact there with Kevin McAdams there on that restart. He was able to hold on to the second position. He'll restart on the high side. John Poole, Kevin McAdams will make up row number 2. And how about Tyler O'Neill? Picked off a couple of spots early on in the going, started back in 8th and has already worked his way up into the 5th spot. So Justice in control of the field. He is going to go way early, right past the pit road walls. That catches a lot of the field off guard, and he gets a pretty healthy lead. Kind of spreads out this field as a result. So Justice, kind of like I was saying, just shaking it up. He gets a big lead. Kevin McAdams way up the racetrack in 1 and 2 as he's getting chased down now by Tyler O'Neill.
And we'll have to see how things fare out here, as we might have one driver who had a bit of a lane change there, though. Justice changed lanes, Blake, coming across the stripe. It was the second restart he had done it, I believe.
Oh man, Derek Justice, a restart violation. And again, we mentioned we've seen a couple of leaders have that issue, and unfortunately I'm gonna look at the replay here myself just to confirm it. That was the one thing I was worried about. You cannot switch lanes until the start finish line, and you can see at the start finish line he is all the way at the wall. So what? No doubt about it. And now Justice ran in and ran through Nate Stewart, and they had contact as he was trying to get to pit road. Tyler O'Neill barely missed the pit road wall.
What was Derek doing there? He went up in the high line when he knew he had to come down and serve the penalty there, and just went right into Nate Stewart. That doesn't even make any sense here.
I mean, I think that was a case. Justice was definitely trying to get to the bottom. Stewart was trying to track up off of the corner. They make a little bit of contact, so now obviously Justice had to come down pit road, and just a little bit of contact happened. So that's allowed John Poole to get control of the race lead. Kevin McAdams in second. Nate Stewart, he's still hanging on to third. He's got a little bit of damage, but he's going to be able to hang on right now. Tyler O'Neill fourth, Matthews Wack in fifth, Jake Poole in sixth, Cosme Ineshu seventh, Andrew Schwartz in eighth, Nathan Rabideau in ninth, and right now Lucas Plostel. He has control of that final chance and spot guaranteed into the race. So he runs in 10th spot.
Yeah, this really shakes up things, to say the very least, and really helps Plostel in particular. The problem is Gary Waterworth. I think Waterworth's got some speed here. Showed some good speed in this heat, just couldn't get the luck going his way, and now has taken that preferred bottom line away.
Taking away that bottom line. Plostel able to hold strong there on the high side as we've gotten a couple of green flag laps under our belt here. 20 to go in the LCQ. Lucas Plostel trying to hold strong over Gary Waterworth, who was really close. We mentioned that exciting heat that we saw. He was a part of that battle with Evan Rice, Nate Stewart. Waterworth was on the bottom three wide, not able to get it done. He'll try to do it now in the LCQ. He is all over the back bumper of Lucas Plostel, trying to make his way in, just getting a little loose there off the corner.
Yeah, just can't get the run he's looking for quite yet to be able to get there, but he has been close to the back bumper. So I think they're just near dead even on the pace. Meanwhile, up the race lead, a swap for position. Kevin McAdams getting the run.
And Kevin McAdams trying to flex his muscles here because he has plenty of them. Going to the race lead over John Poole as he gets control of this lead, and he is driving away already about a car length and a half, 2 car lengths over John Poole as he takes control of the race lead. So trying to do everything he can to improve that starting spot for the main feature, and he is just gone from the rest of this field. Jake Poulin, though, he's into the outside fence. Battle for 6th as he is shot way up the racetrack. Is Cosme Ionescu. He'll go back down to the bottom, make his way by now. Andrew Schwartz, the points leader. He's having to try and drive his way through the LCQ. He needs these points. He'll move by Jake Poulin there for 7th.
And making it look nice and easy. That's the mistake. When you end up going too high, you end up scraping the wall. And when you do that, it ends up getting you almost suction cup to the wall in some cases, trying to pry your way off from the fence. And that was the case for Poulin. Scrapes the wall, loses a couple positions. Car's okay, but the positions, they're still lost, to say the very least. Just keep in mind that transfer spot. They are bouncing off the walls for 10th position.
Owen Waterworth, perhaps a little bit of contact there. I think he's just letting Lucas Ploso know that he's there. Definitely made contact in the middle of 3 and 4, but nothing too much. Ploso gets a little loose there in 1 and 2. I think Waterworth, again, he's just knocking at the door. He's letting that 45 know that he is there, and he thinks he may be quicker. There's also a battle in front. Jake Poulin still trying to hang on to his race car. He is having a hard time here as Nathan Rabideau was trying to go by for just a moment there for the 9th spot.
And a caution flag is out. Rich Jamison involved in an incident. And I believe it involves as well Roger Gregory. Unfortunate for Roger Gregory here.
Unfortunate there for Roger Gregory as they get tangled up. We'll get one more look at it at our bar visuals replay. We also saw after the caution had flown, Robert Dorman, and it looks like, I believe Dylan Drayling had a little bit of a coming together after the caution flag, and you know the driver and me would say that was a little extracurricular right there, but you see right there, I think that was unintentional contact right there. 86 spins around, a little bit of contact from behind, a quick 360, but enough to trigger the caution flag and reset things here with 13 laps to go.
Yeah, looked okay for the most part, up until about Hero Myrtle with the check of effect slams in hard. Significant damage for Myrtle, and now as a result there, but quick reaction needed for that type of an incident, to say the very least. Good reaction for Jamison to be able to keep it going and going straight without any significant damage.
They'll try to escape again. You can withstand quite a bit of damage here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, but the 86 is going to try and roll on by. He'll restart a couple of spots back. Timing and scoring hasn't refreshed because of the fact that there's no we're not refreshing timing and scoring because caution flag laps do not count. But he's going to be bumped back to outside the top 15 at the very least. But again, the contact that we were talking about after that was well after the caution flag had come out. I don't know if this was from well earlier in the race, but it was Robert Dorman and Dylan Drayling, who I don't know if Dorman lost brakes. Maybe that's a way to put it. I don't know after the caution flag had come out, but there was definitely a coming together between he and the 83 car. We'll take another look at it here. This is, again, after the caution came out, and just kind of, a slight guide into the wall.
I'm not quite sure what that was all about. Both of them now just demolishing both their cars there, but it almost looked like both of them actually overcooked the corner in the first place.
And they both kind of did. You see the 83. I think he knows what's coming. He's moving up the track trying to get out of the way, and the 46 doesn't turn. So I don't know if something broke on the 46. I mean, of course, Matt Kenseth said that his tire blew at Martinsville, and we all kind of know what the situation was with that. So not sure if that was an accident, but didn't do much to try and improve both of their race cars. Going to be pretty significant damage for both of those cars to try and move forward from. So as we move forward here, we're getting close to that time limit that we have. Just about 5 minutes left. We're also getting close to finishing this thing on laps. as we'll have 6 to go when we take the green flag. Kevin McAdams, John Poole, Nate Stewart, your top 3. It was Lucas Plosel who was starting to fade just a little bit around that transfer spot. We'll see who has it after this restart. McAdams in control of the field, and the 0-2 machine, typically driven by Ryan Naraki, trying to get all the owners points they can't stack up in the back of the field as Waterworth was into the back of Nathan Rabideau. But nevertheless, green flag is out side by side throughout the field through 1 and 2, 6 to go. 10 spots up for grabs.
Great launch for McAdams, to say the least, right now. That top line seems to be moving very well, but a bit of a checkup effect now with some of these drivers trying to get themselves to the bottom.
Oh, and one car is around, and in the infield, it's the 18 NOS Energy Machine. As he spins, we stay green as he spun down into the grass, but Matthews whack into the top 10. That's going to put him outside the top 10, and he'll need a caution or something big to happen here for him to have a chance at making the top 10. Right now, battle for that transfer spot being waged right in front of Lucas Plosel. He has 10th. Gary Waterworth is in, but right now the 96 Benjamin Fanning missing the hood on his race car. He's going to get in the back of Plosel. Plosel in the back of Waterworth. One car gets spun at the top of 3 and 4. It is Dalton Cowden. He gets run into and spun, and the caution flag is out yet again.
And wow, big checkup effect there in that circumstance there once again to make sure they didn't slam to the back into Gary Waterworth. Cowden just, I think, was the bystander in all of that here, Blake, where he was just trying to run his own line. Ends up getting a tap on the left side, and around he goes. Huge hit to the motor, though, from the 46.
Yeah, that was a big hit as Cowden, like you said, just an innocent bystander there. You see the stack up there on the bottom and the contact between the 96 and the 117. That's really just an effect of the bottom guys moving up into the top side, so nothing that Dalton Cowden did there. He was just an innocent bystander, gets spun there, and then obviously the 46 barrels in, gives the 117 a little bit more damage. So the Mighty Ducks machine not going to be feeling so mighty after that one. Heavy damage for him, and again, not a lot of time to make up some spots. Believe when we get the green flag, we'll have just 4 laps to go, as we'll get one more look at it here on board the Baskin-Robbins machine.
And Derek Justice stopped on a dime here to avoid this. Wow. Any quicker, he's likely barreling into the doors of a couple different drivers. But you see the pro experience coming in from Justice, just avoiding trouble. And now, though, the downside is he's in 21st position still. He needs a lot of luck to happen to be able to get back up to 10th.
He does. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pull off the feat again. He's just out here for fun, not pulling Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals points. So strictly out here for a good time, but not going to be having a lot of fun back there in the back of the field. Again, we do have provisionals on the horizon that are not being used from 2020. So a bit of a shift here. The first couple of races we were taking provisionals based off of owners points from the Grand National Series last season. This is the first race that we'll be using 2021 owners points, so a bit of a shift there. And again, we'll just have to give you an update. 10 drivers guaranteed in through this field that will move forward, and then of course we'll have, I believe, 6 drivers that make their way in on provisional, 1 as the race sponsor, and then the series sponsor if needed, those 2. So again, we'll see. Tonight's race sponsor is Jeremy Clapper, so if he doesn't advance, which he's running in 25th right now, 17 laps down, so he will use one of those provisionals. And then Matt Wishart, the series sponsor, will make it in because of his, and wow, I said Wishart and somehow that got my Siri on my phone to pull up. That's pretty incredible. But nevertheless, he's in with the provisional tonight. So, Kevin McAdams, Nate Stewart, your top 2, as, oh, there's a huge stack up as McAdams went late, and that is going to crash the whole field.
What in the world? Wow. So there's the luck that some of the drivers were needing. Bad misfortunes for some of the other ones. Just, I think everyone thought that McAdams was going, but actually bobbled with some tire spin or something when he was trying to get ready for the launch.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is a smart move by Kevin McAdams. You can call it what it was, even if it wasn't intentional. But we'll get a look at it, the bar visuals replay. You could say it's dirty, you can say what you want, but this is genius by Kevin McAdams. So McAdams can go anywhere in the restart zone that he wants to go. Instead of going, you're going to see the O2 machine turn to the left. And that fools John Poole behind him. You're going to see right here, you're going to see a turn out of the O2. Doesn't accelerate, but turns down the racetrack. John Poole gets going. Nathan Rabideau sees it as well. Everybody sees it. And then, of course, with that pit road wall right there, Gary Waterworth, unfortunately, he gets in it, and that causes, you see calamity right there, 6-7 cars all wrapped up in that one. But McAdams, as the leader, didn't do anything wrong. He made the turn and pretty much fooled the rest of the field to get going there. So you could say what you want about whether you think it's dirty or whatnot, but as the leader, you get to go when you want, and McAdams kind of pulled the rug out from everybody there. It will end the race under caution because of the time limit, so we'll have to see exactly who moves forward there in the top 10. So we will have to get official word on the finishing order of that race. So interesting there. The time limit runs out. That's the race. And we'll have to sort things out and see the results, because I think even what we're getting on official timing and scoring is a little bit jumbled up. But nevertheless, Kevin McAdams, I'm sure, will be scored as your race winner. And oh man, I'd hate to be the tower right now. They're going to have a busy time sorting out who after that wreck would have lined up in a certain position. It's going to be a lot of sorting out here for those guys.
What a sequence. Wow. I'm not sure what to say again. Just a very crazy way to end off the Consi, and a rough break for some of those drivers to try and move on, to say the very least. Wow.
That is a lot to decipher. So, again, we'll try to get timing and scoring sorted out for you as soon as we get the drivers who not only advanced as the top 10 from that last chance qualifier, but also will fill in the provisional slots in this race. We'll be sure to let you know, but it wouldn't be FTF without some controversy. If you weren't with us last night, you missed not only a great race at the end, the last half of the Super Speedway series on Saturday nights, except it's actually on Fridays. Great race in the 87 cars at Talladega, or at Daytona rather, but we also had some incredible controversy and something we had never seen before. The Daytona International Speedway draped in darkness, and you couldn't see the track. Never a dull moment here at FTF, and of course with this situation, it just adds to it. Drama and implications, that is the rule, not the exception here at FTF. So as soon as we get the official results on who everybody is transferring in, we will let you know on what is going to happen there. But until then, a bit of a cool down, a warm-up period for these drivers to try and sort things out, get ready for this 125-lap feature that we'll be ready to go for tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy race, I think, tonight. Strategy was the name of the game at the Bullring in Las Vegas. In fact, Blake Reynolds won the race by not taking any tires, Blake, with how the cautions flew there. But I don't think that's going to be the type of race tonight. Based on the trends, we might see some longer runs, which may see drivers have 20, 30, 40 lap runs or so in this event, depending on how things break down for the main action. So this is going to be where I think when you take the tires, it's going to be extremely critical tonight, more so compared to the track position for tonight.
Oh, for sure. And we have seen time and time again, we mentioned the amount of short track races that we have had this season. And it is the rule, not the exception. I know I just said that, but the one thing about this FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals is they want to go to unique racetracks, tracks that aren't always utilized on the iRacing service. Obviously, the Cup Series meant to mimic more in real life what the Cup Series does. But here in the GNS Series, we kind of think outside the box a little bit in terms of making up up the schedule. So we've already been to New Smyrna. That was race number 2. Of course, we went to Auto Club then on to Five Flag Speedway. We went to the Bull Ring last week. We're obviously here tonight at Myrtle Beach. So trying to kind of throw back to a lot of older short tracks is what we do here in this series. Of course, we'll be out next week as well. We'll be at Road Atlanta. So again, thinking outside the box in terms of schedules here, but what it's created with all of these short tracks being run is we kind of get a feel of how these races are going to go. And we saw Blake Reynolds last week. He didn't come down pit road one time, and he was able to win that race at the Bull Ring with everything going on behind him. So when you want to get tires, we've seen that come into play. I know the race that I was able to call at Five Flags, that ended up being the strategy. When you wanted to stay out, when you wanted to come down pit road, when you timed that out, that ended up being very important to getting to victory lane. And I'm sure, Justin, that will be the case tonight as well.
Absolutely. And as well, staying out of trouble, again, is going to be the very big key once more, especially with the way things are broken down in corner entry and exits with some of these drivers. I think as long as drivers keep themselves patient and think calm and coolly, then I think they're in positions to be able to make some moves. If they are over-aggressive early, they're likely losing the front clip early on. So I think this fits into the driving styles of drivers who run towards the front have been calm throughout these types of races, like Doucette, like Reynolds, like Cozy Jr. throughout the season so far.
A lot of storylines. That's what this series is built on. A lot of storylines. A lot of drivers who are out here that are going to be running in this race that aren't even competing for points. They're just out here trying to get a checkered flag. And, of course, that adds to the drama as well. So a couple of minutes here, still waiting on word on not only the top 10 that advanced out of the LCQ, but the drivers who move forward into the owner's points or different provisional slots that are set to go for us here. But, again, just a lot of controversy here to try to settle things out, and I'm sure the fireworks are going to be ready to be had at this track too. Of course, looking in sim time, it's 3:11 local time. Looks pretty dark out there, but don't think we're going to get in any situation where the sun's going to go down. I don't think we'll be here for 4 hours, hopefully, to complete 125 laps. Caution flag laps will count, or will start counting here in this main race tonight. And we're getting official word now on the drivers who will transfer into the main race. So final results here as we bring them to as they're being put in our ear. Kevin McAdams wins, as we well expected there in the LCQ. Nate Stewart finishes up in the second position. John Poole III finishes in third. The 031 machine, he'll also move on as well with the fourth place finish. That is Tyler O'Neill. Cosme Ionescu finishes in fifth. Sixth goes to Nathan Rabideau. Finishing in seventh was Andrew Schwartz. Eighth finishing spot officially was Jake Poulin. And again, this is where we get around kind of that wreck that happened there on that restart. Ninth goes to Lucas Plosel. 10th is Tyler Lanin. So Tyler Lanin, the final driver who will transfer in through his finishing position in the LCQ. So a couple of drivers, unfortunate luck there, getting involved in that lake wreck. The provisionals will be Justin Malillo in the 53, the 18 of Matthew Zwack, the 48 of Andy Margot has some provisional points. Derek Justice will make his way in on provisionals as well. Gary Waterworth in the 12 machine, he'll make it in. The final owner's points provisional will go to Rich Jameson in the 86. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the sponsor provisionals, the 000 of Matt Wishart gets in with that, as well as Jeremy Clapper. And it looks like we'll also have, that will be it. So 38 cars set to do battle here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. And that'll be your lineup here when we get things started here in about 2 minutes.
I think Derek Justice is going to be interesting to watch from the very back of the field, I think, Blake, because that's going to be intense, where I'm curious if he tries to play patient, just methodically work his way through the trouble, or if he tries to cut his way through the field. We know Derek Justice's MO usually is go for the long run, try and make moves and pick off drivers one by one, and by the time you get to the end of a fuel run normally at some of the big tracks, he's usually up there inside the top 5, top 10. For Justice, I don't know if it's exactly that easy tonight with it being a short track, so we might see him be a little bit more on the aggressive side, I think, tonight, possibly.
I think everybody's going to be aggressive. That is what we have seen throughout this season. And again, if we're going to talk about the results that we've had in these races, there has been a lot happening at these short tracks. The Kick in the Tires 150 all the way back in New Smyrna. We actually did pretty well. Actually, that is the second results. The results we had in the main feature, 18 cautions for 89 laps, so a lengthy one there. The Five Flag Speedway was Ryan Doucette who scored the victory, 13 cautions for 65 laps in that one. And then, of course, last week at the Bull Ring, 135 laps, Blake Reynolds was the winner, 13 cautions for 65 laps. So again, I think if you're going to look at trying to not only gain some points, but potentially end up in victory lane tonight, you want to be one of two places. You want to be in the very front, or you want to be in the very back. I don't think there's any in between here.
I almost feel like it's very front or very front, because the best way to stay out of trouble is to be at the very front of the field, right? In theory. So we'll have to see how things play out here. But these drivers have finished up warm-ups.
They are finished up with warm-ups, and this is how they're going to start, at least in the top 10. Again, many of the positions were listed as 50 drivers starting this race, but obviously with the provisionals and whatnot, we'll bring you at least the top 20. Those are set by their positions as they finished up in their heat. So Spencer Preet will start on pole with David Walsh to his outside. Ryan Doucette will roll off the inside of row number 2. Michael Cozy will start in 4th. Blake Reynolds rolls off from 5th. A couple of former winners in short tracks in the GNS presented by Bar Visual Series this season. Connor Horn in 6th. Sean Butler 7th. Christian Peterson will start in the 8th spot. Jonathan Oates in 9th. Michael Frisch will round out the top 10.
Adam Sweet, 11th spot. Jordan Wirf starts in 12th with Tristan Hagenstein in 13th position. Mike McCodville will start 14th in the 24 machine with Ethan Corder in 15th position. Punkari, 16th spot. Ben Horst in 17th spot. And then Dunkaroos machine, Evan Rice, Jack Painter, Casey Nemitz round out the top 20 among your heat drivers.
And again, many more drivers, obviously the ones that we mentioned just a little bit earlier that made it through that LCQ. They'll be starting as well. And that will make up 38 cars set to do battle here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. 125 laps. That's how long we'll do it here in the Epic Gaming 150 tonight.
Keep in mind your weather conditions. Taking a look right now, the track temperature is dropping a little bit in sim time, just past 3:20 p.m. on March 13th, 2021 in sim day. Air temp 75 degrees, so the grip levels are starting to pick up a little bit as a result. There's also still a lot of rubber buildup now on the racetrack from all the heats and all the action so far. So expect both the middle and bottom lines to be really quick early on.
For sure, we've seen drivers make it work in the middle. We've seen drivers make it work on the bottom side. The whole track has been into play so far, and as the temperatures will likely cool off here throughout the afternoon at Myrtle Beach, believe that will happen as well. So Spencer Preet, David Walsh, your top 2. Gonna get on the loud pedal. Green flag is out, and we are racing here at Myrtle Beach. Great launch there for Preet, but he spins it, saves it, so Preet from the race lead almost bends it and is gonna fall all the way back here to about 7th on lap number 1.
Wow. Absolutely big mistake. Preet, I think, just overblew the braking point by a decent margin there. What a mistake from the race lead early on. But now I'm keeping my eyes on that battle for the lead that's about to heat up, because Walsh and Cozy Jr. along with Ryan Doucette all lined up astern with the battle going on for 4th position behind, with Reynolds and the McLaren Shadow Colors tonight looking to fight.
As a Side-by-side battle that has now gone single file. Connor Horn in 4th, Blake Reynolds in 5th, and really throughout the entire top 10, they have found a way to get it single file. Again, tough start there for Spencer Preet. How important track position is, we've talked about it time and time again, and that's going to be a lot for Preet to try and make up and to try and get his way back into this race. Still single file all the way up through here as we've kept it clean in the opening laps here throughout the back of the field. They are still stacked on back from a 15th. Behind them, Ethan Quarter right now. You see that side-by-side battle on your screen with Brett Pancari. That is a battle for 15th there, and they are still stacked up even behind them.
This race going exactly how it felt like it was going to fare out early on. This is a track that tends to have some longer runs because of its multi-groove racing. It allows opportunities such as this, but the bottom line seems to be just a little bit quicker compared to the top line at the moment, especially with the ability to just wrap that white line in 3 and 4, and that's just hurting that top line's ability to defend.
It is, as you continue to see right there. Brett Pancari tried to make up some ground there. Not going to be able to do so on Ethan Quarter. Can he get back down to the bottom? No. He's going to send Quarter around as he tried to get to the bottom. Brett Pancari gets involved. Jake Pooling gets in it. Another driver nearly gets into the back of Jake Pooling there. First caution flag of the day comes on lap 7, and it was Ethan Quarter. Again, a driver who has been very competitive so far this season in the points, and he's going to have early trouble here at Myrtle Beach.
Massive send from the 333 from behind there. Missed his braking point, I think, by a decent margin. I don't think he was going to stick the corner even if there was a car there. Wasn't a car there, rather just a massive send to try and stick it to the inside, trying to get the inside a quarter. Way too much speed, to say the very least.
Well, that's a case of what Sean Butler was talking about earlier. He talked about loose end. A lot of drivers will look at that, or fans, and will say, well, Ben Horst just no regard there for Ethan Quarter, just got in the back of him. That wasn't the case. Ben Horst was chasing the rear end of that race car. You'll be able to see a nice little shot of it overhead right here. Obviously well back, but you can see he is fighting that car. He's trying to save it and keep the speed up to do so, and unfortunately he tags Ethan Quarter right there. So nothing intentional right there, but just a bad mistake there as the Dunkaroos machine was just way out of shape here on the front straightaway, and unfortunately that is going to be the first caution flag. But this is going to be an interesting point. We got a couple laps on these tires. The drivers haven't gone more than about 15 or 20 laps on a run. And with how loose these cars are, if these drivers continue to stay out, put some laps on these tires, I imagine we're going to see a lot more of what we just saw. Drivers really getting out of shape.
Possibly as well, and this could fare right into the hands of the drivers who qualified well and ran well in the respective heat races. So I don't think the battle is over yet for the front, though. That's the main thing. I don't know how long Walsh can try and hold on here, especially with drivers who are known for being good at these tracks this season, like Cozy Jr., like Doucette, like Horn, like Sean Butler up there as well, like CP, who are going to be right behind him as well. The pressure's going to be on for that 37 machine to hit his marks consistently each time around, and that's going to be the tough part for Walsh tonight.
Going to be very tough to try and manage that situation behind him, as we'll get the one to go, I believe, this next time by. Working caution flag number 1 here in the evening here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, and we take a look at the track facts right now. This track continuing to cool down. 75 degrees ambient temperature, 95 track temp, so relatively cool here for when you talk about March here at Myrtle Beach and talk about all the sand being out here on the coast. By the way, friendly reminder, don't forget to turn your clocks forward tonight. We are skipping forward. Did they do that where you're from, Justin? They skip
indeed.
forward? All right. Well, see, no matter where you are, United States, Canada, make sure you turn your clocks forward. Unless you're in Arizona, they're special. They don't get to change the clocks like the rest of us. But David Walsh in control of the field as they work through 3 and 4, coming around to start lap number 13 of 125. Long way to go. But Walsh going to get a good jump. So does Michael Cozy on his outside as well. Green flag is back out here in Myrtle Beach.
Cozy Jr. just able to apply that pressure from the outside. Just that bottom line continue to rotate very well so far. And keep in mind, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see some drivers try and find a hole in the bottom line at this point. Just ride early on, try and save.
Trying to get down there as Michael Cozy is going to be able to do so for that second spot. They're going to duke it out, though, for third. Connor Horn trying to hold off Ryan Doucette, a previous winner earlier on this season. And then how about our booth partner a little earlier on in the night? We saw he and Ryan Doucette side by side earlier in their heat. They're side by side once again in the feature. This is for fourth. And Doucette trying to make it work on the bottom. Butler trying to fend him off up top.
Doing the best job out of anybody, I think, so far tonight. We've seen both in the heats in this race tonight by utilizing that top and trying to pinch down to force the driver down low to lift and have to check up off that bottom line. The tough part is, again, just getting that line to fully work for the move as out towards the front. Battle for the race lead, Cozy Jr. to the inside.
Cozy looked to peak for a moment, not able to do so. He'll come up in front of Connor Horn, halt the 24's momentum, but no doubt about it, Cozy thinks that he has a car that can try and go up there and lead this race, but you see how much it cost him. He went for the move, wasn't able to do it. Now Connor Horn going to try to move on by, as you still see the entire field stacked up behind Doucette and Sean Butler, and you know, that's something when you get side by side, there's really not a third lane, there's nowhere to go, and I believe that's what everybody behind him's thinking. Blake Reynolds, you see Christian Peterson back there. They want these two to just sort it out, but unfortunately you slow each other down enough doing this, but there's just nowhere to go. So Butler and Doucette still going to stay side by side, as it appears Butler may have him off the corner. He does into one.
Now puts some outdoor attack from Christian Peterson. In fact, right now Doucette just seems to be struggling on this bottom line, as now it almost seems like that second line is really coming to play like we're expecting it to early on with how these heats and the Consi went, as Matthew Zwack, I think, ended up ducking down to the pit lane.
What happened to Zwack there? Perhaps unintentional. He ended up on pit road. He's losing a ton of spots right now, and I think that's the case. You can see he's not going pit road speed, so I think he was trying to avoid an accident there as he got into the 52. We'll have to see if his black flag gets cleared, though. It will, even though he went full speed there down pit road, but a little bit of contact off of 2 sent him with nowhere else to go but to try and save that race car, so he'll lose a little bit of time there on pit road. But right now, Ryan Doucette under assault from the bottom lane. Here comes Spencer Preet. Looped it from the lead, trying to get back up into the top 5.
Yeah, Doucette continuing to look like he's getting a little bit loose, trying to keep it off the line. The problem is for Spencer Preet, it's almost having some issues with the right side visuals. He's smacked the wall twice now, as Doucette continues to just drop position after position. 5 spots lost from his starting spot already.
He has lost a ton of ground, and perhaps he's just trying to save his tires. I know Doucette, somebody that on the long run, he is going to be a contender here. So I think he's just taking things easy right here as we continue to march forward here. Can't imagine I'd say this, but working lap number 24, only 1 caution to speak of, so we cleaned it up now. Doucette, he'll go to the high side, trying to hold off the 73 of Jonathan Oates. So trying to stay up into the top 10 is Ryan Doucette right now.
Now, keep in mind that when it comes to those different lines in these types of fights, too, when it comes to Doucette, when you just try and get into a rhythm and all of a sudden you're under attack from the outside, you're under attack from the outside again, you're under attack from the bottom line, that's hard for you to be able to get into a proper rhythm, and that's going to be so difficult for some of these drivers throughout the night, is making sure they get into that proper rhythm. They just seem to be struggling with that, a couple of these competitors like Doucette. As a result, as Butler hit the turtles and Spencer Preet continuing to squeeze Blake Reynolds here.
Oh, and they're going to go around Spencer Preet across the nose of the 62. And finally, the caution comes out. It took him a while to throw it, but that is going to bring out our second caution of the day. Contact between the 127 and the 62 as they were working into 3 and 4. Preet was definitely chasing that car down the track, and I think just a little bit of that slide off the corner. When he tried to catch that race car, he made contact with Reynolds, squeezed him into the wall, and once they were glued together, they just weren't coming apart.
Yeah, I think that may be the case indeed here, because it looks like he's trying to run the line here, gets himself gathered up, and then there's the squeeze right here. Keep in mind, he had already had a bit of a squeeze down the front straightaway and hit the wall with the right side twice. And there's always different visual settings when it comes to these drivers as well. Keep in mind, Blake, you have to wonder if that may have factored in.
It definitely could have, as we get one more look at it here. Pretty, not damage. I thought the visual damage would be worse, but this would be a pretty good view of it right here. The 127, he was sliding everywhere throughout this run, and you see just that little overcorrect right there. Once they make contact, they're just glued together. They go into the wall. We'll have to see here, is anybody going to be willing to come down and get tires right now? It doesn't appear that there's going to be many takers. Spencer Preet, actually, he's going to come down and service his race car. Not sure if he'll get those tires or not, but nevertheless, he will pull onto pit road. I believe Dave Walsh pulled onto pit road. He took some tires. Jake Pullen, Brett Pancari. Again, not sure if all these drivers are going to elect to take tires or if they're just going to repair some damage. I know Dave Walsh definitely took tires. And again, this is a track, Justin, where if you're at the back of the pack, this is a tough track to pit at, because you don't want to be so far back that you end up going a lap down. So it's much easier to pit from the lead than it is to pit from behind.
Yeah, the pace laps here only 42 seconds. So if you're, say, half a track behind, you might not have time to be able to get proper damage repair done. In many circumstances, might not even get a 4-tire pit stop done. So you need to be aware of those situations if you want to try and come down, and it's going to really factor, I think, excuse me, how a couple drivers are going to play this out now as a result.
We'll definitely see how it plays out as we continue our coverage here live on STN, the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. Round number 6 right here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Blake McCandless, Justin Prince, and Zach Johnson down in the virtual production trailer. We appreciate you if you're out there watching on Twitch, YouTube, wherever you happen to be. We hope you're enjoying the show and got a lot more left to bring to you. Just about 100 laps. It'll be officially 90, if I can do my math right in my head, 94 laps to go when we get the green flag. So Michael Cozy has control of the race lead. Connor Horn to his outside, a teammate behind the race leader in Christian Peterson. And through 3 and 4 they work. Cozy waiting a while to get onto the gas, and what a jump there from Connor Horn as he sticks right with Michael Cozy through 1 and 2. So this could be a battle for the lead. Cozy waited a while on that restart, and he may well pay the price here.
Almost wonder if he got a bit of tire spin, in fact, with the back tires there, since they've already turned a decent amount of laps here. But Horn doing a great job on that second line to be able to get a good pull here.
He does a good job. Cozy up the track. A little bit of contact there with Connor Horn. I think Cozy says I'm sorry for that as they race through 1 and 2. And before they can sort things out up front, big wreck here off of turn 2. Jeremy Clapper is involved. A couple of drivers. It looked like Dave Walsh. Oh, my goodness. Dave Walsh on those fresh tires was not waiting. And he got into Jeremy Clapper. And Walsh is actually already alt F4'd out of this race. So Walsh with the fresh tires went in there and He thought he had the bottom, and he gets in the Clapper there, gets a little bit of damage, and he says, "Sayonara, I'll see you later."
I'm not quite sure why you're trying to send it this low on the racetrack. I don't know if he would have stuck it into the corner, let alone there. I don't think Clapper expected that move whatsoever there.
Well, he definitely didn't expect it. Now, Walsh did have fresh tires. He went all the way back to about 33rd from the race lead. So that was a really tough call right there. But you see the fresh tires and not a whole lot of room. I think if I'm Walsh, and I'm on fresh tires, I probably make that same move just really early on. And then I think afterwards just, maybe took a swipe at the 95, a little frustration there, gets a little damage there from Jake Poulin. And I just don't think Walsh, after that setback, wanted to stick around for the rest of it. But it's an aggressive move there, especially with that pit road wall, how it kind of jets out there as you're getting into turn one.
Hence why I'm so surprised he trying to make that move there. Yes, I know there's the fresher tires for sure that we're going to factor in, especially with some of the fall off for some of the drivers, but that wall, I think, would be a major hesitant moment to think, okay, do I send it or do I try and wait until the back straightaway to try and make the move? So tough break there indeed, but now that rebunches up the field with 89 laps to go and gives Cozy Jr. back control of the field.
Bunching it back up here with 85 to go as we're going to continue our coverage here, the Epic Gaming Network 150, right after a brief message. Stay with us here live on STN. Back with you here for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. As we get the one to go here, about ready to get them fired back up once again. Michael Cozy in control of the field as a majority of the field through these caution flags electing to stay out, keep their track position as we work caution number 3 and restart number 3 of this race. Cozy through 3 and 4. Going to be a little patient as he was last time. And once again, another fantastic jump there by Connor Horn. He checked up a little bit, didn't think he wanted to go too early there, but another nice restart there for Connor Horn. Not going to make it easy on Michael Cozy to try and get clear of the race lead as they work off of turn 2.
Yeah, and this is not a surprise to see Horn keeping up. The pressure is more contact again this time. That's going to help Horn.
Door-to-door contact, and this time it shoots Connor Horn forward. Cozy trying to battle back on the bottom. Horn pinching him down there. This is good racing up here at the front. Horn to the outside. Michael Cozy trying to hang on, but I believe off of turn 4, we will have a lead change. Connor Horn in control of this race. He passes Michael Cozy, and now he holds control of the top spot.
Yeah, that contact definitely shot him forward. It actually helped him a little bit with the checkup. Now Cozy Jr. struggling a little bit, but look who's up at the front again. It's Christian Peterson looking to say hello, and he's really good at these types of racetracks. Keep in mind, wouldn't be surprised to see him take a checker flag in this one.
No, definitely would not. Either one of those Logitech Altus Esports cards are definitely sporty, so would not be surprised to see either of them get it done here. But Peterson having to hold off Michael Frisch as they may have just made slight contact there through 3 and 4 as Frisch to the bottom of the racetrack. He's trying to hold off Sean Butler as we pretty much seen this up front. We get single file for about the first 6 or 7 positions, but that does not stop them from trying to get side by side and duking it out further back in the field. One guy that has made some pretty big ground early on, Derek Justice, started all the way back in 34th. He's up to 14th now. And even Kevin McAdams started back in 39th after his LCQ finish. He's riding right now in P16.
Yeah, what a drive for Justice so far. What a good drive as well from McAdams. Both of them keeping very clean race cars. But the thing is with Justice, the thing where I think he's been gaining a lot of his time is look at his entry line. It's much more of a deeper arc compared to some of the other drivers, and he's making it work. It gains him about a car length a corner in turn 1 and 2 in particular. I think that's going to be part of the difference here, is some of the difference in line from Justice and how he's running these tires might be able to get him some track position if he can get some long enough runs here.
You'll see right here they stack up in front of him. He'll go to the bottom of Nathan Rabideau, who will try to fend him off. But the one thing that definitely helps is when you're making that pass, you can kind of go a little bit higher on the racetrack, try to get that run off. As you see the 93 into the wall, Kevin McAdams going to try and take advantage of that, as McAdams has cracked the top 15 for the first time tonight.
As a result of Rabideau with the contact with the wall last time by there. Just trying to wheel it on that high line as close as you can to that wall, but the bottom line's starting to come back into play if you've got the confidence and the comfortability and trust that you can make it stick, but a bit loose moment there for McAdams, starting to lose that back in that corner.
He did step out for McAdams, but it's going to be enough for the 93 to get in line behind him as he makes up the spot. And that pretty much completes it here through the front portion of the field. Still side by side in front of them, though, Derek Justice continuing his march through the field. P13 now looking for P12 on the inside of Evan Rice. And it looks like he's going to be able to get it done.
Bit of a mistake there for Justice on the corner exit, smacking the wall, but again, that line's coming into play to really help him right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see him inside the top 5 pretty soon at this rate.
No, wouldn't. Justice definitely making his way through the field. Speaking of the top 5, there's a battle in it that's been waiting for a couple of laps between Michael Frisch and Christian Peterson. They are side by side through 3 and 4. And just as we look at that, caution flag is out. One car stopped here in the middle of 1 and 2. Off the exit of turn 2, it is Mike McConville. As things were getting good here at the front of the field, they were 3 wide in front of McConville, and unfortunately Ethan Corder, he has had a pretty eventful night. It gets more eventful here. Seeing McConville make contact there in it looks like as they're entering turn 1.
I think Mike McConville didn't realize Corder was there, maybe with the spotter recall, thought it was just maybe the quarter panel was going to have a check of effect, but no. You see right there, tries to come down, realizes the mistake, and it's too late. That contact sees McConville hit hard to the inside wall. Corder also hits the suspension on the bumps. That's enough to trigger the caution flag with the stack up, but this is going to open up the strategy window for just about the entire field.
Yeah, this is where it's really going to get interesting here. Do you pit? Do you stay out? And for a lot of drivers, it looks like they're going to make the trip down pit road. A split decision here. I'd actually say probably a majority of the field came down pit road that last time. Only a handful at the front elected to stay out. We saw Michael Frisch. He stayed out. Spencer Breed obviously took tires, I believe, back at lap 28. So he stayed out. Matthew Zwack, lap 34, was last time that he was on pit road. Ethan Corder as well on lap 34. So we do have some drivers that already got their tires that will be on just slightly older tires at the front of the field, so a bit of a track position play for them. But so far, at least when I'm looking on my screen, no driver here aside from Michael Frisch is going to be on the same set of tires that they started this race on.
Interesting call from Frisch here at this racetrack. Similar to what Blake Reynolds did with last week's race, but there was the difference of cautions bred cautions, bred cautions, bred cautions, a ton of that race. Tonight, it's not quite as simple. I think Michael Frisch is just hoping that he's going to get the fresher tires here, or maybe at the point where he hopes that it becomes caution breed cautions at this point.
That's what he's got to hope at this point, because at least, or you either want one of two things. You either want cautions nonstop to the end, or you want a long green flag run, 30, 40 laps, where everybody else is going to be split on whether they want to come in or not, and then you have the fresh tires. So one of two things has to work out for Michael Frisch. He doesn't need 5 laps and then a caution, 10 laps and then a caution. He needs something long enough to either justify staying out and missing a bunch of wrecks, or being able to save a set of tires at the end and then hopefully have way better tires than everybody else when he eventually does come down pit road. It's going to be tough for the 58, but we know he's talented, and he can try to hold these guys off, so we'll see how it works. Again, Michael Frisch not scoring points in the FTF Grand National Series, so this is all for fun for the driver of the 58 and for owner's points. So Michael Frisch through 3 and 4 on those old tires. We'll see how he holds up as pace truck is off. Field under the control of the 58. He's going to go just before the green flag beckons him, and he's going to get about a car length or two advantage into 1 and 2. Green flag back out as we are getting close to the halfway mark of this race.
Quickly turning race, but quickly going to get ugly here with the checkup effect with some of these older tires now. 3 wide into the corner.
3 wide. The first spot you see it in was there for 7th as Cozy and Christian Peterson tried to split Mike McConville. Here comes Sean Butler. He makes contact with McConville, moves him up the hill. He's able to make it work. He issues an apology over the radio, but these fresh tires are on the march. 3 wide once again off the corner. It's Ethan Corder who is split there by the Logitech Altus Esports machines.
And Cozy Jr. is not waiting at all in terms of these moves. He wants to try and be one of the first cars in fresh tires, especially since Connor Horn is already up to 2nd spot. Horn has pulled away for a decent buffer as a result of all this traffic.
He has pulled away just a little bit, so perhaps the fresh tires not going to eat him alive just yet, but Connor Horn able to get up to 2nd. I think you can see the drive off of the corner. Frisch is going to have to do a lot to try and hold off that 24 machine. You see even the older tires that Spencer Preet is sporting not helping him. Already changed for the race lead as a caution comes out, and that will negate that. It is Mike McConville who was struggling there in the middle of the field there on the old tires. I believe it was Nathan Rabideau who made a little contact with him. Jack Painter gets involved, but ultimately a single car spin here in the middle of turn 4. Caution flag is out for the 5th time this evening.
It was not a good stretch for Mike McConville, let's put it that way, especially after being involved in the last caution flag. But I think he actually got a bit of a tap from behind on top of things, Blake, from Nathan Rabideau. This is from the lap prior where he starts off by hitting the wall here. This gets him into right, shuffles him up to the wall once again, puts him 3 wide. Looks okay for now, able to get back into a rhythm. Right into about the corner entry of turn 3. Watch Rabideau. He sends it in deep on the brakes with the fresher tires, right into the back end of McConville. McConville overcorrects, slides up the racetrack, spins it out, able to avoid more damage, but a rough sequence of a lap plus for McConville and a rough past couple restarts overall.
It was certainly for the driver of 24. Ends with him parked in the middle of turn 4. Not too much damage, though, on that 24 machine, so he may be able to pull off in a way and be okay here. But a change for the race lead under caution. Michael Frisch decided to come down pit road, and so this is kind of where I was thinking that Frisch was going to be in a really tough spot. If you get about a 20 or 25 lap green flag run and then you can come down pit road and be the only guy on your strategy, it would be really good. Unfortunately, I just don't know if 10 lap fresher tires is going to be worth all the track position that you lose and the potential to be involved in wrecks and whatnot. This is where it was going to be tough for Frisch to work it out, but unfortunately he decided, well, I got to take my tires now. I can't stay out forever on these old tires or I'm going to get eaten alive. So Frisch, 10 lap older tires, but unfortunately he's going to be all the way back in 31st and we get this thing going again.
Yeah, just didn't play out, I think, the way he was hoping for. Now, how it plays out later in the race is going to be interesting since he did have it, the pit stop at the halfway mark, Blake. So the theory might be if they hit enough caution flags, maybe as everyone comes down with, say, 20 to go, hopes caution, precautions towards the end, we see him stay out again. But that's a long ways out. This is where big picture racing almost comes into play here and hoping that strategy and luck is on your side.
It's better to be lucky than good. That is for sure. As I believe we're going to get the 1 to go signal this time by. As far as the scoring that you see on your screen, 39th on back, they are not in the race. So if you see 39th on your screen, well, just ignore it. This is just a product of the amount of people they have to allow in to make them eligible for the heats and scoring and iRacing and provisionals and all that. So just take a stop look when you get to that 38th position. Those are the cars that are competing in this event. So Connor Horn going to have control of the field on his fresh tires. Spencer Preet hanging on the old ones, 23 lap older tires than everybody else up here in the top 5. And Connor Horn going to scurry away. A great restart there. You see the tires spinning for the 127. He was loose earlier on. He's going to be struggling to hang on to that race car as we are back underway. Michael Cozy wasting no time trying to get second from him.
Group of friends now trying to work his way on by at this point, where I think Preet might get a bit of slack from Cozy Jr. We'll have to see. No, in fact, the fresher tires, Cozy Jr. is saying, you know what, it's time for me to make a move here. Just those older tires just aren't going to work out, and that's why I think everyone's just trying to get to the bottom here and try and pass by these guys quickly.
Yeah, you have to identify those cars, which lane is working, and get there quickly. Cozy able to make his way by for third, rather. That I got confused there between the Logitech cars because they look exactly the same. Peterson to second, Michael Cozy to third, and now Spencer Preet being challenged for fifth by Ryan Doucette. And, you know, Sean Butler has been awfully quick. Hasn't necessarily had the luck this season to go along with it. Only one top 5, one top 10 to speak of. But I think for Butler, not looking to come out here and win. I think he just wants a solid result. Hasn't been able to get that yet. So he'll try to work on by, and he's moving right up to the back of the Moonsport machine looking to crack the top 5.
Yeah, I think Butler's going to quickly make this move on the bottom line. I think Preet knows he's going to have to give a little bit of slack here, knowing he's on these older tires. His pace right now is 2/10 slower than the cars in front, give or take. So it's just not working out for him, where I think he was hoping, again, the strategy worked out a different way. The track position, this is the way to gain some of it back, but it's just not playing out the way I think it's working, hoping it was at this point. I don't know if it's going to even out in time for him for this to work out in full.
We'll see if it is. Side-by-side battle right now commencing right around the edges of the top 10. Derek Justice now side-by-side with Matthew Zwack. Another car who's somewhat free-falling through the field is Tristan Hagenstein in front of them. He gets loose. McAdams gets out of the way. Justice trying to make his way by as one car is spun here in turn 1. Exit of turn 2. It has been a long night for Tyler O'Neill, and unfortunately he goes around, and it is off the bumper of a driver that got into him, I believe, in the heats, Matt Wishart. So unfortunately O'Neill spins it around. Caution flag is out. He tags the 52 in it as well. So it has been a frustrating night, to say the least, for Tyler O'Neill. Unfortunately, he gets tagged, and, you know, if I'm a driver, Justin, I know both of those were on accident there with Matt Wishart, but if I'm a driver, my memory bank is pretty good. I could probably tell you about a wreck that happened 8 years ago, who, what, when, and where it happened. And I think Tyler O'Neill, second time around, he may remember this one.
Yeah, I can still remember incidents from around that time to the point where it's 2 laps to go, Bristol, with a certain driver squishing down for the race win at the time, for a battle at the time. But this battle, just again, try to dive into down the corner. Matt Wishart trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack, sends him on a slide. Right after this, Jordan Worf got loose down the back straightaway, collided into Cosman's car, and sends the 84 sliding into the tire barrier. So 2 different incidents pop up at the same time.
We've seen that. There have been so many incidences where something happens and unfortunately it causes more. So an innocent spin there for Worth, who kind of saw what was happening and tried to avoid it, saw the caution lifted, got his car loose. So unfortunately for Worth, he's going to come down pit road, get new tires to boot as well. Don't think that UNSU got too much damage out of that. Maybe scraped the wall, maybe got a little bit, but nothing that'll slow you up too much. It's kind of hard to see with all the graphics that are on that car. A little bit of nose damage, but it's not going to be anything too bad, especially here at Myrtle Beach Speedway for UNSU to try and deal with. So a couple cars make their way down pit road. Most cars that we just talked about being involved in that caution, Jordan Worth, Jeremy Clapper, Tyler O'Neill coming down pit road getting service to their race cars. But for the most part up front, you see most of the drivers staying out.
They nearly wrecked it off a pit road, I think, though, just now, though. trying to race off there. O'Neal getting involved in more trouble because this is a very thin pit exit here, Blake, where it's only one lane once you get off the pit lane. Him and Jeremy Clapper actually went side by side, and neither of them wanted to give because the pace truck's right there. If they slow up, they likely fall behind a lap. And you can see O'Neal having to take the Turtles all the way across 1 and 2 just to make sure he didn't turn around the 95.
A lot of short track action. Already under 50 to go. And out there in chat, I'm going to ask you guys, who do you think is going to take the checkered flag? Who are you rooting for to try to get up front and end up in victory lane tonight? We want to hear your answers. Is Connor Horn going to have control of this race? Christian Peterson just out in front of him, and Horn waiting just up to when the green flag comes out to try and get that race lead. Doesn't have much of one, though. Christian Peterson right on him. Side-by-side battle behind our top two is Michael Cozy and Ryan Doucette, as well as Sean Butler and Jonathan Oates behind them.
Nice, good launch for a majority of the drivers this time here. Still keeping my eye, though, on Derek Justice on that bottom line in about 10th position because he's been slowly making his way through. Now a bit of contact up in front of him.
A little bit of contact they sorted out for the time being, as I believe that was Jonathan Oates that was in there, I believe, with Kevin McAdams. Sean Butler was able to escape from that one. They're still side by side right now in front of them. And then Justice beneath Tristan Hagenstein. Close quarters there off of turn 2. And apparently 2 close quarters for some drivers here in the middle of 1 and 2. Jake Poulin has gone around here in 1 and 2. And the caution flag is out once again. A huge checkup on top from Rich Jameson. Not sure exactly what happened. A couple of cars, I believe, got into the wall on the front straightaway. It was Andy Margot, Jack Painter, who got in the outside wall. Rich Jameson came to a stop, and there was just a lot happening there on the front straightaway with some of that wall contact.
Yeah, Margot actually pushed hard up into the wall to cause this on the Barnes visual replay. You're about to see, I believe, him just drive up into the fence, and that causes a massive, massive chain reaction checkup on the top line where he gets hit from behind by Jack Painter. Painter gets hit behind by Jameson. Jameson actually had to slam hard on the brakes from his distance. That just ends up collecting Preet. That also collects Jake Poulin. They both bottle up on the bottom of the racetrack. So a massive, massive chain reaction of incidents, all starting and stemming from that top line.
Well, I think that's the last time I'm going to issue picks up here from the booth, because Eric Webler out there in chat picked Andy Margot, and not 3 seconds later he ends up running in and into the wall and causing this accident. So we'll try not to ask for picks anymore, because apparently we're just bad luck up here in the booth for that. So another caution flag on the board, another opportunity for drivers to split strategy here, but I don't think there's going to be many takers. We're going to have to see, I think, about another 25 or 30 lap run before we see anybody who's willing to come down pit road and sacrifice that track position that you would once lose. Although I'll have to look and see. We talked about earlier Michael Frisch starting all the way back there in 31st. Well, guess what? He's all the way up to the 13th position with those fresher tires. So they may not be worth a ton, but the more that these wrecks happen and he avoids them, he has a little bit fresher tires. It may not be worth a lot, but it's something to try and go up there and make some passes a little bit easier.
Sometimes you just have to try something different, Ryan, and that's what I think he tried at this point. So we'll see how this plays out for the 58.
We'll see how it works out for him, as I think this time by we'll get the one to go signal from the iRacing.com official pace truck. And Connor Horn, Christian Peterson, Michael Cozy have been very strong up here at the front of the field. Evan Rice has also started to peek his nose in there. He's all the way up to the 6th position. How about Nate Stewart? Has raced his way in through the LCQ and is up here in 8th. So Nate Stewart has found his way to the front of the field, has a pretty clean race car to show for it right now. So perhaps he can get sporty up here at the front of the field. So pace truck's going to move off once again. We'll see. We haven't had too many leaders jumping the gun very early. So we'll see if Horn sticks to that or if he goes a little bit earlier. Looks like he's going to wait a little bit. Actually, he's going to wait until Barney throws the green flag here. We are back underway from Myrtle Beach Speedway. 40 laps to go. Horn with the lead. Peterson able to get on down as they nearly scrape the turtles there. Jake Pullen working his way off of pit road there on the apron, but they work it through 3 and 4 side by side for third between Cozy and Sean Butler. Here comes Butler up the outside as there is a big crash in 4, and the caution flag finally comes out.
Spencer Preet this time involved in the trouble. Wow. And we'll have to see what happened here with this circumstance. But, man, this was right around the middle of the pack once again.
A lot happening here as we get a look at the bar visuals replay. It looks like a little bit of contact as they were stacking up there on the bottom. Tyler Lannon as well as Spencer Preet. Obviously, that starts everything here, and Preet just parked in the middle of the racetrack. Not a whole lot of room to go. You see Matthew Zwack gets tagged in it. I believe that's John Poole. Contact there for Ryan Doucette. Andrew Schwartz, the points leader, into the outside wall. A couple others get tagged along with that as well. And, you know, that's what we've been talking about. These guys that came down pit road, this is the risk they take, getting wrapped up in stuff like this. And see a couple are able to make it on by. Kevin McAdams, Jordan Worth, they're able to escape any further harm. But looks like more chaos here. We're at that point in the race. I think a lot of the courtesy that we were seeing handed out early on not going to be the case as we continue to move forward.
And a couple drivers who are running up towards the front, electing to mix things up on strategy here, hoping to maybe have the cautions play out on their part well. Connor Horn, Derek Justice coming in particular from the front. An interesting call here once again for these drivers to sacrifice the track position, but we've seen it work in some of these races this season. It's not going to be easy though, and now with CP up at the front, there's a chance we see CP try and check out here on this next run.
We may try to do just that as a big move here from Connor Horn to go down pit road, take those fresh tires. You have to imagine, though, with a lot of the type of racing that we've seen at these short tracks, if you're pitting with about anywhere under 40 to go, that's pretty much going to be it. This is you're making your bed, so to speak. You're not going to come down pit road and get tires at any point further in this race. So for Horn, he's thinking I either want this thing to go green to the end or maybe get another 10-15 lap run, get a caution, and then we'll just try our best to hold off on track position on about 15 lap older tires. Yeah. Again, we saw what Spencer Preet was able to do, or Michael Frisch was able to do on about 40 lap old tires. He was able to hang on for a very short while, but at this point, I actually kind of like where Connor Horn's at, because either this thing cleans itself up and you have fresher tires than everybody in front of you, or if we get a 10 or 15 lap run, I think it really plays into his hands. However, we can also see what we saw last week at the Bull Ring, where we just get caution after caution after caution. You never really get to make up those spots, and everybody that keeps their track position, they get to keep it the whole time. So it'll be interesting to see exactly which strategy works, what shakes out, and ultimately what puts a driver in victory lane. We've seen it time and time again. That strategy has been key to win at these short tracks. So Christian Peterson and Sean Butler, your front row for the first time tonight, as Peterson has control of the field here through turns 3 and 4 in Myrtle Beach. Butler on the outside trying to hold steady, and Peterson's going to launch a green flag in the air. We're set to go. 33 laps to go.
That really helped Cozy Jr. I think that launched out the teammates, but a bit of contact behind them. Rabideau got hit from Michael Frisch, and already another caution flag.
Further
back.
They're continuing to wreck here after the initial one. Andy Margot and Jeremy Clapper were the ones initially involved. And then we saw some smoke here on the front straightaway. I think a driver got loose, but they saved it. Actually, no, there was some more contact up here. One driver hard contact the inside wall. It was Jonathan Oates who got into Evan Rice there. So 2 separate incidents here, and there's a fair amount of drivers that got some damage in that. Blake Reynolds got wrapped up in that one. So a lot to cover here during this break. We'll start with our first one in the back of the pack between Andy Margot and Ethan Corder. You see Margot gets into the turtles and around he goes.
Yeah, just way too low in there. And then right here, the caution was out for a good 3 seconds or so, and I think they just didn't realize, a couple of these drivers, that they was out and were just trying to scrap for position there. You see, caution is already out. Drivers are trying to slow down here, and then Oates gets to the inside and then checks up. And this causes a massive effect where drivers had to dodge to avoid Oates, who was inside the inside wall, or rather against the inside wall.
That's always one of those tough situations when the caution is already out. You're really close. You're racing door to door. You don't want to slam on the brakes, but you also don't want to run over the guy in front of you. So you're just trying to kind of maintain or slowly decrease your speed while the caution is out until you can get separated and make sure you're all good to go. I think that was a case where Rice just slowed up a little bit like you would naturally do. And unfortunately, the rest of the pack just not slowing at the same rate. He gets tagged and not going to lose too many spots out of it, but get a little bit of damage. And a couple of cars, Matt Wishart, one that got involved in that. So we have seen time and time again tonight, one wreck, and then well after the caution is out, we've seen another one. So that has just been, I think, a product of just, we got tight quarters here. There's not a lot of room out here at Myrtle Beach Speedway when you have 38 cars out here.
Just the nature of the racetrack, right? And it's going to make it even more difficult as this race goes on to try and complete the laps. But this is now where it gets interesting for some of the calls here. Since we have drivers on fresher tires trying to cut their way to the field, you have drivers on older tires hoping to stay out here and might be put in a box eventually here of where they have no choice but to stay out here until the end of the race. This is going to be where these strategy calls are going to be so critical now if you want to try and win this race and if you're going to have enough time to get up to CP.
That's exactly right. I mean, we talked about last week with Blake Reynolds. He didn't come down the entire race, but you had so many heat cycles kind of go through the tires that they pretty much evened out. And we'll have to see if that's going to be the case for a lot of these drivers who are up front. I'm sure Peterson, Cozy, they all want that to happen. Connor Horn is begging these drivers to figure it out to try and get some green flag runs in. But we'll have to see. 28 to go. At this point, you're pretty much going to have to lay in the bed you made, as Christian Peterson out front, side by side with teammate, as they are going to get a launch. And you see the teammates launch in unison to get Cozy down to the bottom. He's going to be able to get there for second. Slight lock up there out of Matt Wishart behind them. Butler going to be clear for third, and side by side for fourth, Evan Rice and Nate Stewart.
And I'm curious how Rice tries to fare with that big dent in the back end of his back bumper, but a few drivers stacking up on the bottom of the racetrack, making a bit of contact. Here comes Michael Frisch making some moves, some bold ones.
And remember, Frisch is on those fresher tires, at least when you compare it to the drivers that are in front of him right now. So he's trying to do everything he can to try and take advantage of that. He last pit on lap 61, everyone in front of him, lap 51. And while he's trying to take advantage of that, he's not going to be able to do so. Another caution, this time John Poole and Jake Poulin once again. They get tangled up as Poulin just... Yeah, I mean, there's really no other way to say it. He got a little loose there off of turn 2 and just took a straight line entry and just didn't slow down for the corner and takes John Poole with him.
Yeah, just straight up exactly what happened there. Just lost the back end, kicked it out, coming off of turn 2. And with the bar officials replay, I think you'll see here, once he got that straightened out, just had way too much momentum to try and stick into the bottom of the racetrack and kept on sliding since he warmed up those tires right here. Just slides his way into the corner.
Yeah, and again, he was still kind of chasing that race car. You can get loose, and these cars really don't like turning to the right down the straightaway to try to collect it. So he's just going straight, and you can see for the corner just does not get slowed up in time, unfortunately, and takes the 56 along with him. He goes for a spin in 3 and 4. So again, what this continues to do, it allows these guys on those older tires to keep their track position. Connor Horn kind of losing the ability to try and move forward here. It's not going to help his case at all. But for Peterson, for Cozy, for Butler, this is exactly what they signed up for. They want this thing to continue running under caution, I'm sure. Allow them to duke it out at the end.
Look at this, though. This was after the caution flag was waving. Derek Justice got a hit on the side, a couple others. Hard hits with the 68.
How many times have we seen this tonight? Caution flags out, stack up. We see Barney. He's going to be waving his arms like crazy. Yeah, I mean, caution's already out. The initial wreck's already happening. Barney's going crazy. And then just, again, another kind of unnecessary wreck there happening in the middle of the straightaway. So it is just, it is wild, the scenes that we are seeing here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. I don't think in one race I've seen this many kind of secondary incidents happening.
Neither have I. It's just, I think, it's almost like in some of these cases, I think it's mainly coincidence in some of these cases. In others, in a couple cases, it's been just pay attention in these circumstances. It can be tough when you're trying to race hard into the corner or race off the corner hard and fight for position. But you have to be aware of, okay, the caution flag is out. It's time to slow down here. Otherwise, I might make some contact here with the air driver slowing down around me.
It's one of those things you just got to have a feel for. It's just something that comes with time. It comes with experience, whether in real life or in the sim. Just kind of naturally having, I guess, just... I don't want to call it common sense, but that's really the best term that I can that I can think of, is just thinking it's a feel thing. You know, when you naturally slow down for a caution, it's just one of those things you don't even have to think about. You just kind of naturally slow down and in mind where everyone is around you, just kind of safely make it out. It's one of those things that when you do it enough, you don't have to think too much about it, but you're really having to think about it. Again, tight confines, not a whole lot of room for 38 Xfinity cars here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. You don't typically see fields this big at this racetrack. So Christian Peterson going to put us back under the green flag as we cross to 20, now 19 laps to go in the Epic Gaming Network 150. You can see they're fanning out too. They are 3 wide through 1 and 2 as they stack it up.
Want a little bit near contact in the heart of the pack as Doucette actually wanted to move up to the second line. Surprisingly there, trying to get that line rolling here. Keep in mind, he's on some of the freshest tires in the field, 26 laps into his stint.
He's on very fresh tires and trying to make it work anywhere he can go, to the bottom, to the top. It doesn't matter to him as Doucette contact there with Matthews Wack. They're 3 wide. Doucette on the top side with Ionescu and McAdams to the bottom. Now McAdams going to try to go 3 wide there as he puts one driver in the middle. That's Lucas Plosel. They're able to sort it out. McAdams on the march forward.
Those fresher tires really utilized well by Doucette right now to keep his car clean. He hasn't been in too much trouble all race long. We haven't even talked too much about him lately, but keep in mind, Kevin McAdams is going to have to keep lockstep with him on his back bumper. They're on the same strategy here, so both of them going to have to slice and dice through efficiently if one wants to try and beat the other. For the strategy is there's trouble in front of them.
And Blake Reynolds going to punt around Nathan Rabideau in the middle of the field, and that is, it looks like for a second it may not trigger a caution, but inevitably it does. And I think you see the contrast there between old tires and new tires was as Reynolds got in the back with Rabideau, but this started well in front of him. A little bit of a contact made between Matt Wishart and Evan Rice, got the 93 slowed up, and Reynolds tried to go high to miss it, but just didn't have enough time. And unfortunately, Rabideau, bit of a slide, locks it up. He's in the middle of the field. Most of the field's able to scatter around him, but unfortunately enough to trigger a caution.
I mean, when you have a car spinning around in the middle of the pack, you have no choice but in that situation. Great job by the rest of the pack to just be able to avoid him there. But again, another checkup incident where you see the hard break there from Wishart in front with Evan Rice, tries to avoid Evan Rice, is Rabideau, and Reynolds doesn't realize that, gets in the back end of him, and then Reynolds decides to go drifting.
Yeah, that's just something that I guess he's doing for fun right there. It's Blake Reynolds maybe going to come down pit road and get new tires or just think better of it. No, I think he just heat those things up. So maybe he wants a little more turn in that car. Everybody that's complaining about loose end, maybe that's not what Blake Reynolds is experiencing behind the wheel of his machine. So continue to work under caution here once again. Christian Peterson, Michael Cozy, you have to imagine that is going to be a tough duo to beat. I imagine the teammates, a lot of communication going on. They're going to be restarting in unison, but why don't we go ahead and take a look at our upcoming events while we have a couple of moments to talk about it. The Four Corners Racing League makes their debut on STN Monday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern at the Phoenix Raceway for round number 3 of their season. That again will be right here live on STN. Round number 2 of the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifier Series from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Split number 2, you can catch top split all the way over at Podium U Sports. Second split will be right here on STN. That again gets rolling off 9 p.m. Eastern Thursday night, and then of course we return with FTF action next Friday night. The Saturday Night Super Speedway League, except it's on Fridays, presented by STN. Round number 4 at Texas. Interesting track, interesting car. As we continue to move the tracks and cars that you run in that series, we ran the 1987 machines at the Daytona International Speedway last night. It was a thrilling race. We've seen everything. Went to iRacing, Super Speedway, and the Cup cars, and now we make our way to Texas. 9 p.m. Eastern next Friday night. And then, of course, you also don't want to forget, we'll be right back here next Saturday night for some more action. So it should be a lot of fun for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. With more race coverage here on STN, Blake McCandless, Justin Prince along with you. Under 10 to go here at this half-mile racetrack. Christian Peterson, Michael Cozy looking to get away. Sean Butler, Nate Stewart also with an opportunity. And Michael Frisch has worked his way up to 5th. Interesting to see what happens here. Pace truck is off. Peterson can go. And he's going to wait a little bit. The two Logitech Altus Esports cars take off together once again. It may be enough for Cozy to get down, but Butler going to charge hard on the inside here through turn 1.
Now a great launch by the teammates, but Christian Peterson hit the wall, destroyed the right side of his car. Will that play a factor now that he's got significant damage to that fender?
It may so as they stack it up 3 wide. Big contact being made in the back of the field. They keep it green though. More contact made. Ionescu up the racetrack. Ethan Quarter gets into him. Still saves it there off the corner. One car spinning the inside. It's Gary Waterworth. No caution yet. We keep it green. Trying to sort it out up front, but it is still your top 3 the same. Now here comes Michael Frisch to the inside of Sean Butler.
And there are those tires coming into play once again. Keep in mind that Doucette and McAdams are 6th and 8th respectively. And with 6 laps to go, they may need a bit of luck here to come up. For Michael Frisch, this may play out surprisingly well for him at this point. Just can't get clear of Butler to be able to try and pounce on the 2 teammates.
Oh, exactly right. If he can get clear of Butler, he'll have an opportunity, and he is able to do just that off of turn 2. So he's going to try to take a run at these teammates, but you have to imagine even if he gets to the 99 or whoever he gets to by the time he catches them, they're going to make it a living hell to pass him and try to hold him off, I'm sure, for their teammates. So Frisch with the opportunity, 5 laps to go now. And a caution is thrown. Wreck here off of turn 2. It is Cosmin Ionescu.
And I think it started up in front, in fact, with Connor Hall getting hit from behind by Tristan Hagenstein. Unfortunate for Cosmin was the massive bystander there as Horn tried to save it and just drifted right into Cosmin down the racetrack, destroyed the front end, and now we approach GWC territory.
That is exactly the case. Stack up there on the bottom. Hagenstein and Connor Horn get collected there. You see the 27 into the back of the 24, spins him around, and tough luck there for Cosman. Nowhere for him to go. Comes up in front of Jonathan Oates. Looks like Derek Justice gets tagged in it as well. We'll see it once again. Tough luck there for a couple drivers here. Again, they were battling well back in the pack. This was around for the 20th position. So they stack them up, and now, oh boy, Justin, we are in for some fun here. Green, white, checkers. Don't think we could have predicted that, right?
I don't know either at this. Well, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
Oh, I'm totally not being sarcastic. No way we could have predicted this.
Yeah, we were expecting a 125 lap run. No. Yeah, this is going to be, I think, right into the lap of Christian Peterson, honestly, unless Michael Frisch uses the bumper here, because he's in a good spot to be able to control the run in the lead. He's been able to jump on forward by about a couple car lengths along with Cozy Jr. on these restarts. Frisch is going to not only need to be nailing the start perfectly here to get to side by side with Cozy Jr. and pick him off on one lap, he's going to need to try and get to the 30 on the second lap. This plays right into CP's hands.
It really does. Again, having control of this restart. You never know at the end of these races if you have teammates, if you're giving countdowns. A lot of times at the end of the race, sometimes you'll be like, hey, buddy, you're going to be on your own here. I'm not going to give you a countdown towards the end of this race. We'll try to race it out. But regardless, whatever Peterson wants to do, if he wants to go early, if he wants to go late, I wouldn't be surprised to see Christian Peterson go pretty early here. We have seen time and time again these restart leaders going about as late as possible. So what better way to throw off the field than really go as early as possible. We saw, I believe it was Derek Justice and the LCQ did it and caught everyone off guard. I think that'd be a good way to shake it up here and try to get away as early as possible. Again, your whole goal here, if you're Christian Peterson, get to that white flag. The earlier you restart, the earlier you get to it. So if I'm Peterson, I want to try to go, and if anything, you don't want to stack up the field behind you. If you go super late and everybody's trying to jump it, that just causes more caution. So I think if you're Peterson here, you're going to look to go early. But again, this is why I'm in the booth. This is why they're on the track. Peterson's up front. Cozy, Frisch, and Butler, your top four. Nate Stewart completes the top five. Green-white checkered attempt number 1 of 3 here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Looks like it's going to be a late restart for Christian Peterson. So he gets about a car length ahead of Michael Cozy. Green flag is out. Side by side for second. Frisch trying to mount a charge.
Now this is where he needs to clear on by 3 and 4 to have a shot at Christian Peterson here for the white flag if they get to it.
Well, or have a nose in front of Cozy in case a caution comes out. He doors Cozy off the corner. White flag is out. Peterson's able to get there. One more trip around here, Myrtle Beach Speedway. Christian Peterson in control. They're side by side for second between Cozy and Frisch. They're in the wall. Cozy gets hooked. Nate Stewart hard into the inside wall. He gets stuck, but it's going to be Christian Peterson out on his own. He's going to win as they're sliding behind them. Everybody drifting. Huge wreck here. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Oh my.
Whoa.
They are climbing the fence here at Myrtle Beach as everyone was just drifting off the corner on the front straightaway. And at the end of the day, Christian Peterson is going to be your winner of the Epic Gaming Network 150. My goodness.
Wow. Well, it worked out well for Christian Peterson. I don't think we expected that, but it worked out perfectly for him.
And the Infield Care Center going to be a really busy place here in a couple of moments, but a lot to digest there. Is they were pretty clean for first and second. Butler got into the fence. It looks like Doucette spun. Cozy spun there and was trying to drift to the line. He ended up actually finishing 8th when it looked like he was set there for at least a solid top 5. We'll get one more look at it here. Nate Stewart just gets spun off the bumper. Ryan Doucette, he had such a strong run. You really hate to see that for Nate Stewart. And then Butler into the wall. Cozy's drifting. Everybody's drifting. And, yeah, there you go.
Wow. I've never seen anything like that in iRacing in a while. That's a track blocker, everybody.
Yeah, they just shot up. That angle of the pit road wall is not a favorable one. Ethan Quarter took flight. But again, everyone is okay. This is virtual racing, so this is good news. Cozy, man, he didn't even have contact. He just got loose, and that ended up losing him about probably 3 or 4 spots. But the results look like this despite this happening. Christian Peterson is your winner tonight. Michael Frisch slides across the line in second. Actually, he was clear of the chaos. Ryan Doucette emerges for third. Kevin McAdams finishes in the 4th spot. Sean Butler in 5th. Matt Wishart brings it home in 6th. Blake Reynolds in 7th. Michael Cozy lost a couple of spots there after his 4-wheels slide through turns 4 and onto the front stretch. He finishes in 8th. Evan Rice in 9th. Matthews Wack rounds out the top 10.
Schwartz in 11th, Plusso in 12th, Spencer Preet recovers to 13th, Quarter, Hagenstein, Worth, Horst, Maluo, Rabideau, and Connor Horn were the top 20. All those drivers, keep in mind, were either airborne or were trying to stay out of being airborne in an interesting corner after the checkered.
It was, as we continue to scroll along here. 21st went to Jonathan Oates. 22nd, Derek Justice. 23rd was Rich Jamieson. 24th, Gary Waterworth. 25th, Tyler Lennon. 26th was John Poole. 27th, Jeremy Clapper. 28th was Adam Sweet. 29th, Casey Nimitz. And Jack Painter rounded out the top 30.
31st spot tonight ended up going to Andy Margot, Cosman Ionishu coming home in 32nd. McConville, Stewart, Poulin, O'Neill, Pancari, Walsh rounding out the 38 drivers who made the start. The rest of the drivers out via the LCQs or the heats tonight.
Well, and it looks like we are wrapped up there with our full race results. Why don't we catch up with Christian Peterson? Brings it home in victory lane, and looks like you guys had some pretty fast Logitech Altus Esports machines out there. How was it from the driver's seats?
Oh, it was good. Car felt really good. I've done a lot of laps here at Myrtle Beach in the past. Not necessarily in the Xfinity car, but kind of got a good feel of it, like 25 laps in, and was working the outside lane. And then some cautions fell our way. We pit there about a little bit earlier than halfway, and then kind of decided that was going to be our last and final commitment to pit road. So it played out well for me. I wish Cozy was up here there in P2 celebrating with me, but yeah, it was a good race.
It certainly was, but talking about this effort here, obviously this is mostly an owner's point effort for you guys running these cars out here. How has it been trying to kind of stay in that championship fight? Because both cars seem to be faring pretty well.
Yeah, it's been fun. I did my debut at Five Flags 2 weeks ago, and we had a little internet issue, so I think on one of the last restarts, my internet went out and I couldn't see anybody, and I got a bad finish there for the 30 car. But I think a win will help, and I'm pretty sure the 99 is up there too. So I'll have to go back and look after the race. But yeah, that should be fun throughout the season.
Well, Christian, anybody want to give a shout out to? I'll toss the mic to you. It's all yours.
Yeah, just everybody at Altus, Logitech G, Altus Esports. Hold on one second. We got Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, iLiveries, Motorsport Australia, and Own TV, Race Tech, and VRS. They all are on board the 30 car this season, so should be fun.
It should be. Well, Christian, congratulations. You're the winner of the Epic Gaming Network 150.
Thanks, Blake.
And Peterson gets it done, parks it in victory lane, and coming up just short with his strategy was Michael Frisch. Led a good portion of this race. He's caught up with Justin Prince.
And Michael, first things first, how difficult was it to claw your way back to the field, to put yourself in this situation to fight for the race victory once more, even with the 10-lap difference on the tires?
It was about the hardest thing I ever drove. I was really nervous because Walsh for some reason pit on lap 30, and then immediately the next restart just got taken out. So that was running in the back of my head because everybody had pitted and I'm off cycle with them. So I was a nervous wreck through that whole run, and I was just actually, for once, taking my time, something I don't do too often. But we took our time, got back towards the front, and got a couple yellows, got up towards the top 5, and then that last restart just kind of, I didn't want to give Cozy a door slam there. I just kind of gassed it up, and the car just got tight and put him in the wall almost, and then he came back after me out of 2 and put me in the wall, but I held on to it. I don't really like racing him like that. He's a good guy, and I felt really bad.
Yeah, that was a crazy sequence tonight. And overall, how would you describe racing here at Myrtle Beach in the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars here, especially with the fact that you had 38 of them battling in tonight's feature?
It was really difficult tonight because both lanes seemed to work out pretty good. You actually wanted to be in the middle of the track to run the fast lane. So it was pretty much a dogfight for the middle lane, and it provided some really good racing when we got spread out and everybody was picking their battles nice and clean. But it was great racing. It's a great combo when you get some good drivers on it. It's really fun. It gets loose.
Now the next race is a road course, Road Atlanta. Your thoughts on going left and right in the hillsides in Road Atlanta?
Pretty good. Me and Brian have done a lot of 24-hour races and every year so far for however long I've been doing iRacing, 4 years now. I do road occasionally, and I'm pretty decent, so I don't think I'll be up towards 1 or 2, but I'll be up there in the top 10 for sure.
Anyone you want to thank for the run?
Tristan, Brian, Matt, everybody watching, you guys up in the booth watching us, pile cars into walls and each other all night. There's some massive wrecks I know we had. But Dalen, of course, Bar Visuals on the car as always, and Lowline Racing. Gotta start thanking them now. Part of that team for everything Road to Pro and everything special events. So I gotta thank them a lot. And yeah.
Congratulations on the run tonight, Michael.
Thank you.
Michael first coming home in second tonight. Then third on back gets the fun tonight, Blake, of trying to explain the massive one at the end of that race. Doucette was the first driver on through, I believe, before the calamity ensued.
I was about to say, Ryan, just take us through that last lap. I know, obviously, you're kind of back in 5th and 6th. You got fresh tires, you're trying to get everything you can. Somehow you end up third, and somehow the whole field just died in turn 1.
Oh boy. Where do I even begin? On the last lap, I guess. I was trying to get that position on the outside of Nate, obviously, and he wasn't quite clear as Sean got into his left rear, and I still expected to have enough room to get in the position, and kind of got into him going down the backstretch. Not that I really wanted to, but I can't lift on the last lap for something like that that's happened in front of me. And thankfully, I didn't lose any time out of that. And then going into through 3 and 4, one of the blue and orange cars, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Cozy. He got together with Frisch, and he had a bad entry, and I saw that. Took that chance and tried to just gain as much position as I could, and I got into Sean a little bit on corner exit by accident. I assume that was just because of the edge I had in tires. I didn't want to get into him again, obviously. I really don't like moving people when I don't have to, but it's the last lap. I can't really check up, and somehow made it through to third.
Well, I remember we talked to you in Victory Lane a couple of weeks ago. How have you enjoyed these short tracks? I know one thing about this series is we get to run a lot of these unique tracks, and it seemed like you could race pretty well side by side. I know you and Sean Butler had a couple of good battles out there.
Oh, yeah. The outside was definitely preferred groove while passing. I think it was probably the preferred groove all night, honestly, but the inside could definitely hang with it, and I definitely didn't have as good of a hold on Myrtle Beach as I did at the other short tracks like Five Flags and New Smyrna. But still, I enjoy short track racing. I just like running close to people, and I don't like making unnecessary contact when I don't have to. But sometimes it's just a result of that close racing, and that's what happens.
Sometimes. But Ryan, I'll throw you the mic one more time. Anybody want to give a shout out to? It's your opportunity to do so.
Got to thank all my Nexus teammates in that race, everybody that ran me clean, the FTF admins for putting this on every week, you guys for putting on the broadcast, and I think that's about it.
All right, Ryan. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, and congrats on the third place finish tonight.
Thank you.
And Justin, that'll about wrap things up here. Myrtle Beach did not disappoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great strategy, some great racing, as well as some crazy incidents tonight. But short track racing, everybody. You expect to see some craziness, and we've seen some of that for tonight, especially at the end of that race. Man, oh man, what a big victory, though, for Christian Peterson. Happy to see him in victory lane, knowing his short track background, especially on the platform of the Cards Esport Tour, and how he performed tonight.
It's definitely good to see these short trackers come out and really be able to enjoy. And like he said, something he hasn't done very often, running the NASCAR Xfinity car at Myrtle Beach, is something that it's a rare opportunity. You don't get to often do it in either official or league competition here on iRacing. But that'll about wrap it up for us here at Myrtle Beach. For everyone at STN Racing, for Zach Johnson down in the virtual production trailer and Justin Prince, my broadcast partner, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from Myrtle Beach, where we bid you farewell, and congratulations to tonight's winner, Christian Peterson, the winner of the Epic Gaming Network 150.